Baby doll gets in the room and closes the door, breathing heavily. She says they almost died out there. A swift hand slides over her back as a voice tells her, the world is ending, so why don't we do it one last time? That cuck boyfriend of yours wouldn't do shit even if he found out. But then she notices the thirsty blonde guy has a bite mark on his forearm and asks, what is that? Brad just shrugs. Nothing big, just one of those crazy guys out there bit my arm. And this lobotomized hoe actually accepts it. The football match begins, balls hitting the field, but shortly after the guy stops moving. He doesn't have that Cristiano Ronaldo stamina. She asks why he's not moving. Yeah, the obvious happened. He turned into a zombie and is about to eat her again. She kicks him away. From outside, a Sung Jin-woo lookalike hears the noise and thinks to himself, wait, isn't that the voice of the girlfriend of the old owner of this body? He goes to take a look and stares with cold, menacing eyes like me trying to hold my laugh when my bro makes a racist joke. The lobotomized blondie looks at Subai and begs for forgiveness, screaming and shouting, but Bra just slowly closes the door while enjoying her screams, that Kira-ass smile on his face. He's thinking a girl who cheats like that deserves this. This dude hates cheaters. In his past life, he was on that Chinese sword immortal vibe. He was about to become a literal god when suddenly one of his disciples, let's call her White Panties, showed up just to stop him from leveling up, telling him to pay for his sins. Before he could react, another one came from behind, hugged him tightly, and pressed 2 bombs against his back. That was another disciple, complaining that her master had treated her unfairly all those years. Bra decided to take them all with him, only to get hit by the skills of yet another disciple. Clearly, he should have chosen his peers based on loyalty instead of just thighs and ass. Not gonna lie, I would have made the same mistake though. After the triple betrayal, he went full Joker one last time and flattened half the earth. I'll tell my son that's how the dinosaurs went extinct. Then he woke up in that apartment from the beginning. Now we know why this dude calmly closed the door and left the lobotomized girl to die. What he doesn't know is that soon enough, he'll find all his beloved disciples in this place, giving him the perfect chance to get revenge on those cannon fodder carriers. But right now, he looks outside and says he knows nothing about this strange cement city. After arriving here in the body of this cuck, the only thing the infamous system gave him was this 10,000 souls banner that lets him control the things he kills. It's trash compared to the weapons he used to carry, so he throws it to the ground while cursing. That's when he remembers 2 perfect trash targets nearby, the 71 IQ duo that devoured each other in every conceivable way. So he opens the door and with a single clean stab, puts them both to sleep. The banner activates and the duo starts getting eaten once more. Blondie girl already got eaten 3 times in one chapter. Outside, the street is infested with zombies. The protagonist is itching to fight, zombies everywhere, and the wig banquet is trying to run away. Big Mac girl gets jealous and shoves the skinny girl backward, and she drops beautifully onto the ground. Okay, skinny might be me getting carried away. And the protagonist is watching from a distance and recognizes her instantly. Lin Wanchu, the queen of the white panties. The problem is there's a whole crowd of zombies between him and her. But he wants to know what Wanchu is doing there. That woman can only die by his hands, not by those monsters. So he throws the spear into a zombie, jumps right after it, catches it mid-air, drives it straight through the creature's belly, and it drops dead. Wanchu is shaking, stunned that she's still alive. She wonders if this strange man really saved her. But the protagonist says that the damn woman used that thunder technique to leave him in a miserable state, and now she shows up in front of him like a total failure, almost dying to a creature that weak. She's completely confused, not understanding what he's talking about. She stands up and thanks him for saving her, and the creator's shading is still flawless. The protagonist gives her this half glare and puts the spear right in her face, asking if she's going to keep pretending she's clueless. She grabs the spear tip and pushes it away, telling him this isn't the time for drama. What is he even talking about? She doesn't even know him. He wonders if he got it wrong. But remembering the white panties queen side by side, he's sure it has to be her. He knows those curves way too well, and he's ready to investigate. Then his stomach growls, and she says she knows a place with food. He thinks for a second, apocalypse. He's human. He needs to eat, so fine, he'll let her come with him. But she grabs his arm and tells him to hurry up. It's like they're having the time of their lives, like they're in a playground and not in the middle of the apocalypse. The protagonist just stares, thinking the fact that she betrayed him never changed, and she's going to pay for it. In front of the market, she says it all happened so fast she didn't even ask his name. He starts to realize it really does seem like she doesn't know much, but he tells her his name while thinking she's not leaving his side. He's going to make her suffer in every possible way. She walks ahead and opens the door, but obviously the place is packed with undead. She freezes, asking why there are so many creatures in there. Weirdly, in the middle of the zombies, there's one saying to buy a phone SIM card for 50% off. The monsters start standing up, waving their arms, scratching around to scare them, but the protagonist is just smiling. Wenkyu clings to him, saying they should run and get out fast, but he says he needed a sacrifice to get his banner to level 2. It's the perfect chance to test the item's abilities. The banner flies out and summons the 2 zombies he killed in the room, but now as slaves, they charge in and bite other zombies right in the neck. It's zombie versus zombie, and there's even some synergy. A blue one goes for the blonde zombie. He dodges, kicks it in the back, it falls toward the girl zombie, and she blows it up in the middle. The protagonist sees a bigger red one leaping in with claws and tells his 2 to fall back, but his zombies get completely wrecked. He doesn't have much spiritual energy, and he uses what little he has left to resummon them and sends them in again. This time he sends the blonde one first. He takes a stab through the air, but it creates an opening for the other one to latch onto the mutant's back. The protagonist activates a chain spell and she bites the creature's neck. It drops dead. The protagonist walks up and activates the spiritual link. A bunch of chains surround the mutant. Lift it up, yank everything out, the spear glows, and the weapon levels up to level 2. Now 5 souls can be summoned. The system warns that to keep leveling up, he'll need to collect an advanced level zombie. The protagonist knows that if it's more advanced than that, he'll probably starve before he finds one. Meanwhile, Lin, all excited, is basically falling for a guy she doesn't even know is dying to kill her. She says she's useless and thanks him. The protagonist agrees, saying yes, she's useless and she's stupid. Damn. Then a bald guy shows up with half a dozen survivors. Wang Q clings to the protagonist. One of the survivors mouths off, "Hey, we got here first, are you crazy?" The group agrees, saying everything there belongs to them. The girl in the mini shorts defends the protagonist, saying he did the dirty work, but the gang says he's lying. The monsters fought each other, so clearly he didn't do anything. Lin throws a fit, saying those bastards are trying to steal the protagonist's credit. She's almost crying from anger, yelling when the protagonist tells her not to worry. Only the weak need reasons. The strong create the reasons. Basically, even if he's wrong, he'll do what he wants. He walks up to them and says he wants supplies. Who's gonna stop him? Just say it. They get bold. Everyone yelling, "I'm against it. I'm against it. You're not taking a damn thing from here." The protagonist smiles and says, "All right." Then he summons the Temu version of Buru. Before they can do anything, he sends it straight at them. They're shaking, saying they don't want to die, begging. For a second, I thought he was just gonna scare them. But no, he really tears people in half. He kills a few, then asks again, "Who doesn't want me to take the supplies?" Everyone goes quiet. Real quiet. Then he turns to Wang Q and tells her to learn. That's how it's done. Now nobody disobeys. She focuses and says she understands. But what I don't understand is why she's down on the floor, straddling the supplies, rubbing all over them. Girl, stop grinding on people's food, for the love of God. The protagonist tells her she's carrying everything since he saved her. And with that half-lidded stare, he says he can't wait to find out if she's really pretending or if she actually has amnesia. Either way, he's going to make her suffer. But she's all excited, gathering supplies, saying she'll carry it all for him. Dude, you already got betrayed once and you're going to believe it again? I don't know if I buy that she forgot everything. I think she might remember, honestly. But there she is with her toned stomach and mini shorts, saying she's ready to go. The protagonist tells her to come on. He's looking for stronger zombies and she's carrying the supplies. Later. Losers. The survivors are furious. Damn, that guy came in here, killed everyone, and robbed us. The remaining survivors try to grab what's left in the room, but then the protagonist's zombie couple shows up, telling them to get their hands off what belongs to him. Nobody cares anymore, and it turns into a fight over who can grab more supplies. Kicking each other, everyone playing rock, paper, scissors. Then one of them looks back, pissed off. But he doesn't like what he sees, because he gets spooked. Wonders what that is doing there, and more zombies have arrived. Wow. Dude, everybody got absolutely shredded. What is this? Now another Big Mac was crying for help over there and then just got its head stomped in. Dude, the main guy killed everyone just to absorb their souls? What is this? What is this? This kid is ruthless, huh? He doesn't forgive anyone. He says leaving those seeds that hate him alive is only going to cause problems later. It just sucks that he's so weak he has to keep a low profile. Meanwhile, the other girl is over there looking like a total mess, all sweaty. Man, what a shame she's completely worn out. It's almost like I'm only saying that so you'll sit there staring at the image for a bit. Alright, that's enough. That's it. Looks like she's pissed because the protagonist is walking too fast. I'm just saying, if she slows down, she really is going to get left behind. She laughs and says she's sure he didn't want to abandon her. Damn, look at that test. He's getting tested right now. He asks why she's so sure. They're basically strangers. Like he wouldn't leave her behind. Then she says she won't get abandoned because she has information about a really strong zombie, and she's sure he'd be interested. And yeah, he is. He immediately asks where to find it. So she says she wasn't at the university today because there was a weird creature on campus. It had a strange smell and seemed kind of dangerous. She's there with her fingers pressed together, begging him to believe her, while he's thinking, well, she's not lying. And since he really does need a creature to evolve, it's worth checking out. At the university, it's packed with zombies, and the scaredy cat is there too. The protagonist starts saying something, but she tells him to shut up, saying there are a lot of creatures there and they can't hear them. But he doesn't care at all. He pulls out the spear and slams it into the ground. He tells the 3 summons to clear the way, while the girl is wondering if this is really the best approach, just killing everything. He doesn't even answer her. He's just wondering if everyone who gets killed by zombies really turns into those half-alive creatures. Suddenly, they hear screaming. Leaning against a wall, there's a trio telling the creatures not to come closer. One of the monsters lunges. The guy stretches out his big axe. But not only does he lose the axe, he also gets it stuck in his shoulder, completely useless. The zombie obviously is still alive, and then it lunges again. Someone blocks the attack and smashes it right in the middle of the head. The guy is yelling for everyone to fall back. They needed to regroup. These things were way above their level. Wang Q recognizes them as Gu Ming and Li Mingxuan. But what were they doing in a place like this? The protagonist asks why that matters. Does she think he's going to save those people? She grabs his hand and starts running. He's kind of confused. Wait, you don't want to save them? She says unfortunately she doesn't have the strength to rescue her classmates. He thinks she really doesn't seem to remember anything. Because she used to be strong, so where did her strength go? I'll tell you where it went. But then suddenly the classmates spot them from far away and start yelling her name. Won-Kyu, help please. We're gonna get eaten and killed. She's thinking this bastard is trying to drag the two of them down with everyone else. Or maybe it's because they passed like half a meter away from the creatures. That idiot Lin notices and apologizes to the protagonist, saying it's her fault. She really is messing up his life. But he pulls out the spear and summons the three souls. The creatures rush in, handing out slashes, hits, bites. But there are so many that his monsters start getting grabbed like the Walking Dead. A bite to the neck and he loses one, so now he can only control two. He realizes he needs to thin out the zombies so he can summon more. The problem is, first they need a chance to escape. He suddenly asks Won-Kyu if she has anything that can make a loud sound. She thinks for a second and shows her phone. He doesn't get it at first, but when she hits play and the music starts, he understands. She tosses it over the creatures and it grabs their attention for a second. But then from the phone thing, he summons that clawed creature. Don't ask me how, and sends it in. It attacks and tears through everything with chains ripping people apart. She's shocked that such a dumb distraction worked, but he just says they don't have time to think. He grabs her arm and drags her away. In another part of the school, she's exhausted on the floor, like she just stepped out of the shower. She says once again she owes him. If it weren't for him, she'd be dead. He says it doesn't matter. They need to locate that high-ranking zombie fast. But then we see some other people come in through the door too, and she manages to hide. The greedy ones get all excited. Won-Kyu, this is great. You brought a bunch of supplies and saved everyone. They start surrounding her from all sides, and these guys are trying to take way more than they should. Obviously, she doesn't want to be someone's meal, and she says none of what she has is for them. But one of the guys looks her up and down and tells her to stop being disrespectful to the seniors. She has to help everyone survive, that's what matters. The guy with glasses tells everyone to calm down and not fight. This isn't the time. Then he asks the protagonist to join them, saying there's another room that's better for a meeting and it's safer. The trio goes ahead while Won-Kyu apologizes to the protagonist, but says she won't let anyone touch his supplies. He says he doesn't care about those people. He only wants to know if they'll actually help locate the zombie. She says there should be several professors among the survivors so those guys won't dare do anything crazy. He laughs. Yeah, right. Like they wouldn't do anything. As they walk, the bald guy says, guys, I saw her backpack. It's packed. That could last a month. The black-haired guy says he agrees, but Won-Kyu won't accept it. The glasses guy says it's fine, just put them on the team, and when they start sharing, they take everything, or they'll have to accept the other option. Right then, someone opens the door, saying they finally arrived. Where are the supplies? The pair walks in, and the protagonist sees the room is full of survivors. For things to be this chaotic, this apocalypse, all these zombies, this must have started recently. Then Won-Kyu sighs and suddenly sticks her butt out for no reason. And she even says, you can't touch it. What do you mean? Oh, she's talking about the supplies. Relax. She says it all belongs to Subai. And the black-haired guy wants to know. One person. Why does he need so much stuff? But fine then, they'll buy it from him. He goes, hey girl, we'll pay 10 times the store price. You're definitely not gonna refuse, right? The protagonist gives that smile like he's about to do something nasty and says no, he won't refuse. Then the guy kneels and says, smart kid, let me see what's in that backpack so I can buy it. But suddenly there's a claw at his neck, and the protagonist says, unfortunately, his friend here isn't in the mood for that. Everyone freaks out, running around asking where the hell that thing came from, while the guy backs away, wondering why it looks like the creature isn't attacking Subai. Then the protagonist says the bastard got 2 of his subordinates killed and now he's trying to steal the supplies too. The guy tries to explain, but the protagonist stomps him in the chest, and he starts coughing up blood. Then the protagonist says he'll have to kill him and use his corpse to make up for the earlier loss. The guy calls for his friends, begging for help, but that's how it goes, friendship disappears real fast. Everyone starts yelling that it was that idiot's idea to steal the supplies. The poor guy on the floor can't believe he risked so much to get supplies for everyone just to get betrayed like this. He begs Won-Kyu for help, but she stays silent and sighs. I thought she was going to tell him to kill the guy, but instead she asks the protagonist to forgive him this one time. They could take her share of the food and nobody would touch his, but the protagonist stares, realizing this girl is way too weak. She only looks like the Won-Kyu he used to know. He has no reason to keep her around anymore. Damn, he's cold. So what? Cut her throat. Then go on. Kill her. I dare you. Come on. Prove you're the protagonist. And then he stands up and says, all right then. Our deal ends here. You found your people, and from now on we go our separate ways. She grabs his arm and begs him to wait. She knows exactly where the zombie he's looking for is. He asks if she saw it, and she says not exactly. She can feel an aura, a different smell coming from a certain area. She doesn't know why, but she's almost sure. He remembers Won-Kyu, the white panties queen, had an innate spirit, a super rare body that could sense spiritual energy, and maybe she brought something like that into this world. Next chapter, they're by a little wall, and a guy asks if the girl found what he asked for. Apparently it was a stick and a long sleeve, and the protagonist asks where Lin found that. She puts her hands together and says she basically was born knowing, because she has a tracking ability, and from now on she would be his sword. The protagonist pats her shoulder and says fine, she'll be his second disciple. She has a spiritual body, so she has good potential. Maybe one day she could even surpass him. She says she'd never even dream of that. She just wants to serve by his side and make his life easier. He looks at her like, what is this? Lifts her chin and asks, you're gonna call me senior? And she calls him master. Yeah, I'm not even gonna tell you what happens next in that temple. But now, back in reality, he's furious. He doesn't know how that damn girl lost her memories. But the good part is she can still be killed. And now it's time for the pretty disciple to become part of that banner. He's already thinking about sending her to the other side when she suddenly takes his hand and asks him to trust her. There's a creature coming this way. The poor guy is stunned, laughing up at the sky, thinking how ironic it is. Again, he's in a situation where he needs her. If she really has that innate body, she's perfect for finding creatures. Yeah, that's what you need the body for, you creep. Outside, there's a literal giant crocodile saying it can feel a strong presence of spiritual energy. Those weak creatures were useless. It smashes through the wall, freaking everyone out, and the protagonist immediately realizes this is the creature she mentioned. A mutant that's half human, half snake. And it barges right into the room, grabbing people right away. The onlookers want to run while the protagonist just stands there, and Wonq says that's the creature she was sensing. And the weirdest part is it seems to have spiritual energy. The protagonist thinks it's strange. Why would a creature from this world have spiritual energy? That shouldn't exist here. Then the creature says it can smell that energy. My god, all they talk about is energy. But for now, it's going to start its banquet with a few humans. It grabs the first one and is about to toss him into its huge throat. Then the young teacher makes an offer. Please, save us. We'll do whatever you want. He stares and asks what their lives have to do with him. She says she doesn't know, but she can pay money. She'll pay for protection. He says he's not interested. What he's really interested in is everyone dying so he can collect their souls. While he's saying that and someone gets eaten by the snake, suddenly his zombie comes from behind and smashes the back of its neck. The big snake drops straight to the floor. His blonde zombie climbs onto its back to go for the neck. Full attack on Titan, but the snake twists around like it's doing a full 360. Then it uses its long tongue and wraps it around the zombie's body. Right away, the snake knows who has that spiritual energy. No wonder the smell was so strong here. But then the blonde zombie knees it in the jaw. That guy is the real protagonist. Subai still hasn't done anything so far. Subai says it looks like he won't be able to wait for everyone to die since the creature is coming straight for him. He's got guts, but he knows in this life it's going to be way harder to deal with something like this. But there's a way to get strong fast by draining everyone. So he warns them he won't be able to save everyone. But if anyone wants to join his group of undead, then they have a chance. If nobody wants to, he'll just leave and they'll die there. Obviously, nobody wants to accept that deal. He starts to walk away. Lin tries to say something, and then the teacher steps forward and says she'll give herself to him. But the protagonist stares and sees something incredible. He reaches out with his big hand to grab her necklace and asks where she found it. She says it's something her father found by accident many years ago. If he liked it that much, she just takes it off her neck and hands it to him, saying he can keep it. All she wants is for him to protect the students. The protagonist realizes it's a stone from the immortal realm, and the quality isn't even that low. But how did something like that end up in this world? Maybe it's not a coincidence that he and Wonq are there too. There's a good chance there are more female disciples in that place. The system immediately says he recognized the spirit stone and asks if he wants to use it. Not only would he get stronger, he'd also be able to control stronger creatures. Seeing the item will actually be useful. He says he accepts the teacher's offer and that they can hide there. But the big snake is furious, because it looks like it wanted that item too. He thought the energy it sensed had come from, like, the protagonist or the girl the boss wants to throw down. But the protagonist sits there to absorb it, while telling the blonde kid to hold the fight. The creature charges in, slash to the neck, then the stomach. Then it gets its arm squeezed, it blasts up into the ceiling, and the snake glances back. It notices that kid's aura is getting stronger. Looks like he's breaking through, and it has to stop that right now. So it lands a heavy punch on the protagonist creature, and sends it flying far away. With him unprotected, it basically tells him to die and goes in for the kill. But suddenly the protagonist makes it stop just by saying it's too loud. Then he says it can pay for its sins, since his banner needed the sacrifice of a beast, and the perfect target just showed up. The snake is trembling, and he asks what the problem is. Right then, his creature, the one that got thrown away, shows up and grabs the snake by the neck. The monster evolved from common class to evolutionary class. The protagonist immediately orders it to kill. It drives 5 claws into the snake's chest. The snake writhes, spits, gets slammed into the ceiling, thrown away. The thing manages to hang on at the edge of the building, pulls itself up and says it really underestimated the kid. But obviously it didn't come all the way here without being prepared. What a sneaky snake. Down below with the survivors, the black-haired guy pierces both his friends' chests. Everyone looks back, confused, asking why Ming Xuan did that. And with his tongue hanging out, it's more than obvious. He asks what it feels like to be betrayed. They never imagined they'd end up like this. Then he rushes in and starts tearing through all the classmates. He doesn't kill the teacher though. Why would he? He leaves her there. Meanwhile, Wonq and the protagonist are trying to figure out what happened to Ming Xuan. The protagonist is impressed. He didn't think humans could become followers of beasts. But the more this guy kills, the better for him, since everyone will go into the banner. The teacher steps in front of a student to protect them, saying he can't just kill like that. He grabs her by the neck and asks what she knows, since she wants to protect them so badly she can die too. He's about to slash her, but the protagonist pulls him back. He steps forward while Wonq tells them to trust Subai. He wants to keep her alive because he wants to know exactly where she got that stone. He pulls out the banner and orders the souls to rise. Ming Xuan is standing there, not really understanding what the protagonist is doing. Seeing the protagonist getting stronger and trying to help the Snake Master, he charges. The protagonist frowns for a second, then extends the spear and orders the zombie to finish him. And then it's creatures everywhere, hugging, grabbing, biting him. He's screaming, asking why they're attacking him. He already killed everyone, while the protagonist just watches. The snake boss recognizes the 10,000 souls banner and asks if he's really planning to use trash like that against it. The protagonist, already summoning the new crew, asks if it really wants to find out whether this weapon is trash or not. The guy who turned into a snake is running around begging for help, while the enemy is trying to understand why it's so unlucky today. Not even that stupid puppet it made a contract with is useful. The kid evolved, so the best option now might be to get out. Ming Xuan comes closer, but the boss grabs him by the leg and tells that bastard to buy time. It throws him back, he crashes into the wall, and the boss turns to leave, saying the situation is kind of unfavorable now. But obviously the protagonist isn't letting that happen, and he orders the zombies to attack the boss. Immediately the blonde final boss jumps it from behind, slams it to the ground, the whole building collapses, and it ends up on the street. The protagonist's stone zombie takes a falling stance, stone skin forming spikes that pin the lizard snake into the ground by all four limbs. While Wankyo says the protagonist is going to win, the snake down there tells him to keep dreaming, it's never dying there. Then it turns into a snake and slips away. Ming Xuan is screaming for help, but it's too late. The former classmate is already in front of him cracking his knuckles, saying now he's going to pay for everything he did. The idiot still tries to act tough, saying anyone who comes close is getting bitten, but in the end he gets completely stomped. Meanwhile, the girls are worried the creature escaped. The protagonist says it's fine, it ran, but it didn't escape his perception. He looks toward the target still sliding away. After creating some distance, the creature transforms back, thinking it's unlucky there's a cultivator here, but whatever, it got away and it's leaving now. Then someone asks where it thinks it's going. It's the protagonist, asking if it's really going to run. The snake doesn't understand, asking how it was found. He's in such a beginner realm. How is his perception that high? The protagonist doesn't even feel like answering. He just orders his creatures to rush it and capture it. The stone zombie pins it again with spikes on all four limbs, holding it to the wall, and the blonde one comes in and drives a strike right into the middle of its neck. The protagonist says now he wants to see it try to run. The snake is screaming, saying it won't let them survive, and it's going to fight dirty too. It activates a shadow clone of the snake. Literally, a bunch of little green snakes rush the protagonist, but he just says that bastard really doesn't know when to quit. He stabs one of the illusions, one that was obviously real. The snake keeps asking how the hell his perception is so sharp. The protagonist says again he doesn't have to answer. The snake is only alive because it still has a use for him. He activates the banner's restriction and chains start wrapping around it. The snake insists that if it's going to die, the kid is dying with it. But Sabri says he won't let it sacrifice its soul like that. He activates the divine image and the creature immediately recognizes the power of a god. Then it realizes the person in front of it is the reincarnation of an ancient ancestor. It tries to beg for forgiveness, but it's too late. The system congratulates him for killing an advanced beast. He advances a realm and can now control up to 10 beasts. Since he reached level 3, the staff's advanced mode awakens. With one hand in his pocket, the shameless guy says he didn't expect you could use the spear like that. Since he has this thing, he can build an army. For no reason, he tosses it upward. While his disciples are waiting back at the building, the teacher asks how Wang Q met that boy. Wang Q says she doesn't really know, but she felt deja vu when she saw him the first time. As soon as she says that, the protagonist walks into the room and she happily goes to greet him. He immediately tells her to stay back. He's too much of a man for that. Then he takes the stone from his pocket and tells the teacher to say where there are more, right now. She repeats what she already said. It belongs to her father, and she has no idea where he got it. If he wants to know, he'll have to ask her father. He tells her to give the information already. But then she says if he really wants to meet her father, they'll need a second deal. The last time she spoke to her father was 3 days ago, and he was trapped somewhere waiting for rescue. If he wants that information, he has to promise he'll save the people there. The protagonist realizes, this woman's trying to use me to save people. But since he'll profit from it, he says fine, I'll go with you. But you should know that if you're lying to me, not only you, but everyone with your father is going to die. She immediately realizes he's not joking and says he can be sure her father is there. Then she tells everyone to get up because they're leaving with Subai. People stand up looking sad because their friends died. Some cry, others celebrate. The protagonist pulls out the staff and says, no body can be wasted. Chains appear sticking to everyone's necks and souls start getting pulled out. With that, he takes control of 10 souls total. Looking at the kids group, there are 4 women and 1 idiot left. Just so it's not 100% female for the harem. The teacher asks what he did with the bodies. He says he did what's natural. Made sure everyone got maximum use and now they're puppets under his control. Nobody wants to question it and they just thank him. Scared they'll be next. On the way through the streets, they thank him, saying if it weren't for him killing the monsters, they would have died to some creature or starved. The protagonist ignores them completely, only thinking that since he evolved, he got a perception buff. Now he should be able to use some higher level magic. He dives back into his sea of consciousness to try to find an item. He calls for something and stares at what appears in his hand. While Wang Q looks confused, doesn't it look like the sword she used in her past life? She wants to grab it, saying the sword is strange. She feels nostalgic, like she's seen it before. The protagonist just watches, realizing it looks like her memories are starting to come back. For him, that's perfect. It'd be even better if she remembered what she did and became a sheep ready to be slaughtered. The guy is insane. He's eager to see what she'll try to do to him. He throws the sword on the ground and says, since she seems to be getting deja vu, she can keep it. She's confused, pointing at herself and saying, but why do you want to give me a sword? It's not like you want me fighting monsters, right? He asks why not. Does she think he's going to protect her forever? Seems like this girl has a knee problem and can't bend down to squat every time she sticks her butt out. And this time, the moment she touched the sword, she instantly started remembering everything that happened, telling the master to stop, how she was his servant and how he helped her. And it looks like the protagonist already knows she knows, because he's furious. She gets startled and calls him master. Honestly, it's hard to tell because she freaks out and collapses like an idiot, but it was all part of the protagonist's plan. He pulls out the big snake, saying he's going to get revenge now. Instead of killing her, he wraps her up in the serpent and everyone is shocked. The teacher tries to stop it, but it's too late. The girl is getting completely crushed, tongue out. The teacher grabs the snake, trying to pull it off her. What is happening? The protagonist crouches beside her, taps the spear and asks if she remembered. She tries to play dumb. Remember what, Mr. Subai? What are you talking about? The teacher says she's a good kid. Why is he acting like this? Good kid, no. Calm down too, lady. The protagonist is confused. He sensed she remembered something. But at the same time, her reaction doesn't seem fake. Did she restore her memories for a short moment and then lose them again? He decides to investigate himself and activates Soul Search. But he only finds apocalypse scenes. Nobody can fake memories, so she probably lost what she recovered from the past. Either way, it's not fun killing her if she doesn't know what she did to him, so he dismisses the snake. Yeah, girl, if I were you, I'd stay away from this guy. Clearly, at any moment, he might kill you. That casual, abusive relationship. Then the sword starts falling apart, and he just tells them to hurry up and warns that item doesn't suit her. Wang Qian, though, is wondering why she suddenly yelled master, and why she now feels even more familiar with him. The protagonist, on the other hand, just wants to know if some god is messing with him. He needs to investigate fast to understand why all of this is happening. They arrive at a bunch of buildings that are completely destroyed, and the teacher explains that's where her father was last found. The protagonist is already like, well, if that's how it is, let's go already. Obviously, the rest of the group is in shock, saying they're not going with him. No, they're gonna stay there waiting. They wouldn't be much use anyway, blah blah blah. The protagonist cuts them off and says, whatever, stay outside. In the end, you've got nothing to do with me. Idiots, because if a monster shows up, who's gonna protect you? The teacher, not stupid, ditches everyone and goes with the protagonist. The trio of morons is like, whew, finally that guy's gone. I thought he was gonna kill us any second. We got out alive this time. Yeah, after saying that, they're definitely gonna die. The three are getting close to the building when Wang Qiu feels like something's going on. Up ahead, some cops are unloading on zombies, calling for backup, for help. Except the protagonist isn't exactly the type to send help for free. He's already figured out the zombie situation. Snakes and everything coming up behind the soldiers. The poor guys obviously think they're about to get slaughtered and start scattering. But the protagonist crew heads straight toward the zombie crowd. There are a ton of zombies, but his creatures are literally sweeping through them. The cops don't understand why the monsters suddenly started fighting each other. The fight keeps going, and the cops realize they're screwed if they try to evacuate now. Their only chance is sending in an awakened. The guy in the back says there's no way they'd send powerful people to save cannon fodder like them. The captain, though, readies his weapon and says they're gonna die there fighting. Nobody's backing down, even if nobody comes to save them. Then he looks out into the street and sees the protagonist coming with a trio. And weirdly, they look really calm. When he walks right through the rubble, the soldiers are aiming over. They tell him to stop and identify himself. The guy next to the captain asks if they should shoot. He doesn't look like someone they can handle. I don't get it. The protagonist completely ignores them and just keeps walking. So the captain steps out from the rubble and asks which one of them is an awakened. The protagonist looks confused, turns around and asks what an awakened even is. Now the captain's confused too. Wait, this kid isn't one? Or maybe he is, but he's not a registered awakened. That would be even worse. Then the teacher says they're there to find someone. Her father, Li Zhenghao. The soldier says he's on the rescue list. Seems like an important person. Subai asks where he is. The cop says he has the coordinates, but unfortunately it's right in the heart of the mess, so it'll be extremely hard to get there. Right then, another wall collapses and a bunch of zombies pour in, and the guy opens fire. The cop says if the kid isn't helping any other group, he could help the government. The protagonist negotiates and says he'll help if they take him to the target he's looking for. As soon as the guy agrees, he sends the snake and the blonde kid charging in. Now the snake is breathing fire on the creatures. The soldiers are totally confused, saying that power is kind of insane, but the friend says it's actually normal. Awakened are that strong, and the one in front of them is probably different, because he's way stronger than a lot of others he's seen. At minimum, he's an impressive C rank. All that drama just to say a trash rank like that. Suddenly, Wang Qiu says something's coming from above. Someone drops down, warning that nobody steps on this territory without permission. A huge samurai drops between the protagonist and the cop. Even Subai is freaked out, saying this creature's rank is higher than he expected to run into right now. The thing points its staff and summons another zombie army while the protagonist's friends ask how they're supposed to deal with this. He's excited for the fight though. Not only can he farm experience from countless souls, he can also put this guy on the banner. He tells the girls to step back because he's got new prey. His goal is to build an army of intelligent, independent creatures. He sends the snake, the zombie, everyone straight in. The blonde kid goes first and throws an attack, but the knight blocks it and immediately realizes the kid seems to be controlling the undead. That kind of power is insanely dangerous. He needs to eliminate someone like that right now. The creature starts cutting loose easily and goes on the offensive, while the protagonist realizes this bastard really has serious combat power. Where did an undead like this even come from? Scene changes. We see someone watching the fight from far away, thinking he found easy prey, and he calls the boss. A purple shadow appears, saying they found a cultivator who controls zombies. The guy gives the order to finish off the kid. Back in the fight, the big skeleton comes in to crush all the girls, and the protagonist clings to it. The kid's standing there with his eyes closed, thinking this creature is way too full of itself if it thinks it can stop him like that. Then he pulls Wonkyu's sword, blocks the big attack, and the monster is confused. A giant cultivator appears in front of them, and everyone recognizes it as a divine avatar. The skeleton tries to run from the fight. Get back here. The protagonist asks where the bastard thinks he's going and activates the phoenix cry, launching the bird straight at it and piercing it through the chest. Everyone is shocked. He summoned a phoenix. Then the protagonist activates the banner and chains start wrapping around the skeleton. Congratulations to the user for defeating a commander-level creature. Looks like it was basically boss tier, because it becomes a boss bar he can control. While the girls are helping him, the skeleton starts talking to him. He didn't even know the spear could talk. No, wait, the spear now has the spirit of the skeleton he just defeated, and it's feeding energy into his back again. The protagonist smiles. He clearly liked the boost. That's literally what he says. He thanks the skeleton for offering that spiritual power. The creature says he can count on it, because now that it's seen the kid's level, it knows that if it stays by his side, it can reach the peak again. As long as it gives its best serving its master, it'll resurrect even stronger. Lina asks if the protagonist is okay. She sees blood at the corner of his mouth, but at the same time she's asking. She's confused too, because earlier he suddenly tried to kill her. That's a fair concern. The protagonist, as always, has people talking to him while he's thinking about something else, and doesn't care about anyone. He just wants to know where the spirit stones are, because he needs them urgently, and he doesn't stop. He tells the cops, "Come on, take me to Zhenghao." Now that I think about it, does it never get dark in this story? Haven't we been on the same day for like 15 chapters and he still hasn't slept? Or am I losing it? More beat-up zombies start approaching, and the protagonist just calls the skeleton and tells it to handle it. The creature shouts for everyone to kneel before the master, and they do. Everyone drops to their knees. The cops are in shock. This kid alone was fighting hundreds of creatures. There really is something different about him. And the teacher is already interested. Someone with that kind of strength could be a hero. Scene changes to a Japanese temple. There's an old man sitting there asking what this business is about. The nether bone-woven dead. In a floating window, someone says he can trust it. It's absolutely true. They even have some images of the scene. The guy watches the video with the divine avatar and the phoenix. Looks like the master also came to this world. I thought it was just another one of the protagonist's servants. I thought he only had women. I respected that more. And the kid is already giving the order to use all forces to kill this guy as fast as possible, before he progresses. The glasses guy just says he understands and will obey. Scene changes again. A horde is walking toward the building. Inside, a bunch of suit and tie types are finding out about the psycho who's making all the monsters kneel. The protagonist and company are getting closer, but from the sky an object approaches, and suddenly a spinning Beyblade-looking thing comes in. The skeleton warns the protagonist, jumps out of the weapon to tank it and manages to block, but an East Asian guy appears in front of him. It's one of Nether Skeleton's old friends, asking why he switched sides. He says he didn't switch sides, he just got a new master. That's exactly what switching sides means. The skeleton tells the bastard to move, and the guy smiles and says he's too arrogant. Does he think he can order people around? Then he summons more skeletons. It's nothing but skeletons. The protagonist looks them over like he always does, thinking the creature seems strong, but not strong enough. He calls Wonkyu and tells her to pay attention to this move. He throws some attacks and creates the phoenix again. She watches but says she doesn't feel anything. Was she supposed to remember something? The phoenix explodes in the sky and the creatures can't even move. The protagonist calls for Old Jian, that's the skeleton's name, and tells him to finish it. Old Jian thanks his master for the chance at revenge, and charges the East Asian guy. He smashes him in the head and the skull goes flying. With that, the protagonist gains more experience for killing another commander-level creature. Classic, they're trying to kill him, but they're just feeding him. The protagonist tells the skeleton he can keep the body, and yeah, he's the king of sucking things dry too. Everyone in this series knows how to drain something. The suit guys upstairs seeing this get excited, saying the rescuers have arrived. But right then a paw slams into the window and starts dragging the building. There's a huge headless beast up there. Even the skeleton warns the protagonist that this creature is packed with spiritual energy. Looks like this bone bird already killed another group that had awakened people. The giant old man says it's over, that everyone's probably going to die there. Real motivating, fighting for his life. And yeah, they probably drew him with a little more care, so he must be the teacher's father. The glasses guy is watching from far away, saying the master wants that kid dead. But he can tell the boss doesn't believe he can do it, so he's going to show what he's capable of. The bird screams at everyone that they're going to turn into food. And the thing actually has skills. It creates 6 clones, one of each color and element, and lets out a huge screech. Everyone's hearing gets wrecked and nobody can orient themselves. The protagonist realizes he isn't in pain, but his spiritual energy is being suppressed. He tells the skeleton to stop that casting, and the skeleton rushes in, but the bird blocks with its legs and counters with a storm of feathers. Another one, the purple clone, comes at the protagonist. He grabs the sword and almost slices it, but it dodges clean choreography. It lands a low attack that he barely avoids, but he still gets hit in the arm. He's confused, his vision and agility feel completely suppressed by the creature. He's pissed. The damn chicken is giving him more trouble than he expected. Still, it's only a matter of time before this ends. He just has to shut the bird up while it's screaming. He releases the whole gang and it turns into chaos. The snake gets grabbed, the blonde kid gets grabbed by another one, another bird runs off. The protagonist slips up and almost takes a hit in the back. Then the skeleton tries that social media bait tactic, basically taunting that the bird only runs and can't deal any damage. The idiot falls for it and charges, slamming a paw right into the skeleton. Meanwhile, the well-fed young women are still on the ground, unable to do anything. The glasses guy is confused. The master wants him to kill the kid, but the kid looks kind of useless. If that's the case, he'll just torture him slowly. Meanwhile, the old man who gave up didn't just give up, he wants the protagonist to give up too. He says, "Young man, stop fighting. You don't have any chance. Take my girl Jingya and run from this place." Like any protagonist, he's thinking, am I going to have to use that technique? Suddenly, a wooden branch smacks the bird right in the head, and someone comes in, jumping around with crazy flexibility and lands a hit right in the creature's skull. The bird stops screeching and everyone gets their sanity back. The new girl who showed up is wearing something that looks more painted on than actually worn. Even the women are in love. And there's the protagonist, acting all polite, thanking her. "What's this? I thought you were the Giga Chad." She just tells him to stop thanking her. They still have things to deal with. She shows up and immediately talks down to him. He gets humbled, like always. Meanwhile, the skeleton appears behind the bird and says now that the spiritual energy isn't being suppressed, it's easy. It crushes it, slamming it into the ground, and another sword slices through another one. The protagonist realizes these birds are useless without those sound waves. The glasses guy seems to recognize the girl who just arrived as Chuan Yin-yun, but she shouldn't be there. Everyone in the warehouse was supposed to be dead. The bird is asking the same thing. Where did this person come from? Now the old guy changed his mindset. Perfect. Now nobody's going to be able to stop us from surviving. We're all getting out alive. Are the birds going to turn on them and kill everyone? Right then, the teacher warns that they're switching targets, and it looks like they're about to attack the survivors. The skeleton says that bastard isn't getting out alive, but he only manages to stop the yellow one, while the green one closes in on the building. Then it throws some green poison in there and actually starts killing everyone. And man, poor old guy, he said 1,000 times he was going to die and didn't. The moment he said, "I'm going to survive," he died. He's there like daughter and she's screaming, "Dad, don't die." But it's too late. Things calm down for a second because she's about to go into that awakening state. The blonde immediately realizes the girl is about to awaken. The problem is the energy is way too chaotic and her body could explode. The protagonist has never even heard of this awakening thing. Like, what is that? He grabs the girl without caring, pulls her in at just the right angle, puts up a barrier, slams a hand into her back and says he's going to guide her through this evolution. He even forms a cocoon around the two of them. I'm not understanding anything here. The one who does understand is Wan Chu, because she immediately remembers the master used to do this energy infusion on her. She didn't like it at all. Is she jealous? What's your problem? The guy is saving the teacher so she doesn't explode, and she's over there acting dramatic. Next chapter starts with the woman standing there shaky, and the protagonist tells her to test the ability she gained. Poor teacher looks like she really suffered, because she came back the way she came into the world. Meanwhile, the green bird is screaming, saying they're idiots and now nobody's going to stop him. But then the teacher tells him to go back down to the ground. Lightning shows up around his wings, he loses control, and he drops like an idiot. Everyone's confused. Looks like she has some kind of power where she says something and it happens. And she's already farming aura like, that's right, my ability is words become reality. Thanks to Master Bai, I managed to master this technique. So it's easy, huh? Just say it and it happens. Great. Then he tells the skeleton to kill the bird and tells the girl to save her father. The creature charges, slams the ground, and at the same time the protagonist activates capture. The glasses guy realizes this kid really does have some weird power. The mission to kill everyone in the warehouse failed. For killing another commander-level creature, the protagonist's staff levels up again, and he's about to take control of the bird, because he's 2 for 2 on bosses now. The bird is there saying he didn't expect to end up in the same situation again. The big skeleton tells him he should be grateful, while the protagonist just stares at them and tells the bird to explain how to neutralize the poison already. The bird doesn't really want to talk until the skeleton smacks him on the head, forcing the bastard to reveal that if you suck out the poison, it dissipates. Everything in this story comes down to sucking things out. Huh. What kind of artist and author is this? Explain that properly for us. The teacher runs upstairs in a panic, gets to the room and yells for the poison to leave Zheng Hao's body. The father is just lying there, doing nothing, and then she's the one who starts coughing up blood. The protagonist says the words become reality ability is strong, but it demands an absurd amount of spiritual energy. At this rate, she'll fall into a coma, and in the worst case, it can damage her bones or even kill her. She got lucky that this time it was only blood. Then he calls the Birdman over and tells him to fix it, warning that if the old guy dies, the bird will be destroyed too. The creature goes in with its little claw and manages to pull the poison out of the old guy's body. But it explains the old man took poison a long time ago, so he might not wake up. The teacher screams for her dad, desperate, while Wang Q is calling the protagonist over, wanting to know what they're going to do if he really is dead. He tells her to relax, because he can feel spiritual energy in that man's body. Oh, and again she called him master. She doesn't get it. Why does she keep calling him master all the time? What's her relationship with Subai? You should know, girl. You're the one living it. Then the protagonist notices that on the old man's hands resting on his stomach, there's another high-level stone. He tells Won-Kyu to hold it and asks what she can feel. She turns and says she's sensing something about 30 kilometers in that direction. He turns and says they're heading east. The teacher says she has to stay to take care of her father. The poor guy probably needs a burial, I guess? But right then Chuan Yingyun stops the kid and tells him to stay there. Wait, what? I thought she was going to threaten him, but not like this. She asks if he doesn't remember what he said, and it looks like she asked for his weapon. He says it's fine and tosses it into her hand. Apparently it's not that important, because even she's confused. Why did he hand this over without hesitating? The blonde thinks she's going to absorb the spirits to increase her strength. She's not going to think too hard about why he didn't hesitate. She'll absorb them and then figure out the next step. She grips the protagonist's spear tightly, feels something weird and drops to her knees. Looks like she's trying to use one of her abilities, but it's not working, and she's even getting backlash. He's standing there holding the sword at his side and asks if she wants to try that one. She seems to accept and gives the spear back, saying this thing is way too strong. Then she pulls the sword thinking, well, he used this to cut that bird, so it must be an insane item. The moment she starts using the power, the phoenix appears, and she drops to her knees again, coughing blood. Right away she wonders why this kid has spiritual weapons with spirits inside them. The protagonist already figured out she has the power to absorb spirits, which is pretty common. But it's bad luck for her because the phoenix sword is a divine artifact. The spear was also given by the system, so it's beyond divine power. While she's trying to rank up, she doesn't stand a chance at all. She gives the sword back and apologizes. Then he says, how about you serve me, blonde? From now on, any weapons we find out there are yours. Considering how strong he is, she agrees immediately and says the deal is done. Then the phoenix tells the big skeleton it's messed up that he stole the girl's energy. The skeleton says he'll do anything for the boss, and from the looks of it, he really drained the blonde dry and sent it all to him. Outside, the people there wave goodbye to the protagonist, thanking him and saying they'll take care of the teacher. So they're really leaving her behind? Alright then. It's rare for protagonists to ditch the teacher like that. Usually they drag it out forever. But then the scene switches to a mansion with zombies coming up on both sides of the staircase. In the back, there's a red-haired girl with a veil stuck to her, everyone crying saying they're going to die until a shadow passes by and starts cutting everything down. Oh, it's that guy who used to be the protagonist's student. He calls out to Fei Sewer and says it's been a long time since they've seen each other. Her father asks if she knows him. She's about to say no, but he comes up, puts a hand on her forehead, and says she's his little younger sister. So they were probably both the protagonist's students, and she's the girl who threw that big coin at the protagonist. And now that she remembers because he put his hand on her forehead, she seems to recall everything that happened too. The guy says, well, now that you've awakened, you already know we've got something important to take care of. She says they really do need to handle it urgently, puts up a coin barrier and says goodbye to her father. It's a shame the master she loves so much survived, because now she and the other brother are going to have to work hard to finish him off one more time. Meanwhile, the glasses guy is in shock that he failed. Looks like he wants to kill Subai to get something from the human he obeys, so he can return to his world. But while that's going on, the group is walking down the street watching people get eaten and doing absolutely nothing. Even Won-Kyu says, wow, aren't we going to save them? We're right here, just kill them. But the blonde only says that in the apocalypse you can't save everyone. Come on, you're literally right next to them. You clearly can. The protagonist, on the other hand, is all about efficiency. He says protecting others will waste time, they need to avoid any trouble. The bad part is that Won-Kyu says she can feel spiritual energy approaching. Great. The glasses guy's bringing the gang. He stops in front of the protagonist and says the bastard killed 3 of his generals and he's not getting away with it. The parakeet thinks the former boss is about to teach Subi a lesson, but the big skeleton warns him he has no idea what the kid is capable of. The protagonist immediately tells those 2 bastards to go in, and the 2 generals charge. That Hao Jie guy though fires back, saying they're getting way too full of themselves, and asks if they've forgotten who taught them in the first place. All of a sudden the ground starts cracking apart, and someone yells that the creature was using a genjutsu, and everyone needs to cover their ears. But the blonde in latex is deaf. She's already launched herself straight at him. He says she's a beautiful young girl, but way too cruel. With one stare, she drops into a weird position. Then suddenly she's crying, calling for her mom. That's when the protagonist asks the old man with the staff if he can create illusions like that too. But the skeleton explains that the horse guy's body is basically built out of mind control domains. His voice, his eyes, every cell and pore in him was made for it. The protagonist says mind control is an impressive ability, but blocking it isn't that hard either. He forms a quick hand sign and suddenly throws up a barrier around himself. He blocks every bodily perception, but the guy asks how he's supposed to fight like that. The protagonist just sends a flame attack and tells the idiot to worry about himself. The attack looks like it hits dead on, but from the protagonist's expression and the fact the guy is still talking trash, it clearly did nothing. He orders the skeletons to come at him, and now the protagonist and his group are surrounded by a gang spinning around them. The women are clinging to each other like always. They're grabbing onto each other every 2 seconds, while the skeleton warns the protagonist that they're inside this guy's domain and won't be able to escape the mind control. Cut to the cultivation realm. with our guy looking down from above, let's put it that way. The horse guy is laughing, saying Subiya finally failed. He wants to see what's inside his illusion. Looks like the protagonist is watching Subiya teaching all his students, and he recognizes Subiya's student as his own master, you know? Right away he realizes, wait, if my master was Subiya's master, then who was Subiya? And in the illusion Subiya is talking to him. He asks if he's tired of watching. Turns out he was Yunbei's damn lackey. Our guy is stunned. How could someone inside an illusion have independent awareness? But illusion Subiya just draws his sword and unleashes the third flame Phoenix Cry Slash, splitting him in half. Then we're back in the real world, and the protagonist says he wasn't cutting his body, he was cutting the illusion. And now he understands this bastard belonged to Yunbei. The protagonist already knows it. Another person he treated like a son was trying to stab him in the back. Two skeletons rush him. The protagonist blocks and the guy tries to use the opening to escape. He slides away, pulls out a fan, and announces he's going to rule this apocalyptic world, and it won't be because of the illusions he has. He throws out a technique, saying it'll kill the protagonist, but the protagonist tells the skeleton he should know that thing's weakness. He gets ready and tells the creature to attack the guy's soul consciousness. Fan guy starts firing spikes, telling the protagonist to go train more, but the big skeleton blocks everything easily. The bird keeps dodging, and the cross-eyed guy realizes it's over. The two generals are closing in, and there's no way out. He asks why they betrayed him, and the skeleton casually answers that they get 6 meals a day now, which is way better. At this rate, they'll rank up much faster. The glasses-wearing loser starts to realize he got betrayed because he's weaker than Subi, but he still throws his 2 sticks away and says with the treasures he has, nobody can kill him. But he gets distracted, and here comes the latex girl from behind. She smacks his hand, knocks the fan away, and he hits the ground while she's drawn like she stepped out of a poster. Seriously, artist, relax. She smacks the fan against herself and suddenly has a fit. Out of nowhere like that, even I jumped. The fan drops to the ground and the guy grabs it, but it's not responding anymore. Yeah, she absorbed the energy and even followed up with a clean kick. She turns around all shaky and tells the protagonist it's done. She absorbed the treasure, so now it's easy. The skeleton and the bird rush in again and capture him. They're about to eat the guy's soul. What is this? Some soul-devouring squad? They eat souls. They eat the weapon's soul. They take everything. There won't be anything left of the kid. They start arguing over who gets to eat him, and the protagonist tells them to split it down the middle. They thank him. As they're about to devour his soul, they ask how Subai knew this guy's weakness. They have no idea, but they've learned it's smart to just obey Subai, and both of them absorb what's left of him. They start celebrating, saying the energy is insane and they're about to evolve again. They refine the energy and pass part of it to the protagonist, and that pushes him into a new level. The banner hits level 5, and now he can control 30 more common demons. The protagonist says he can finally check the Sea of Consciousness again. When his hand goes in, he says he touched something incredible. Yeah, now I'm nervous. But the scene switches to a cave, where a girl asks her senior brother if this is the place. She can feel dense energy inside. It's his disciples, and the guy is sensing that Glasses guy lost his vital energy. Looks like the master is still as formidable as ever. They move through the cave until they reach a spring. The girl says the energy there is ridiculous. If they stayed one day, they'd evolve like crazy. But then she looks back and says she feels someone outside. He tells her not to worry and to remember he's first class when it comes to illusions. Outside, voices are asking about someone stealing spirit stones, saying somebody's basically asking to die. And then we see the protagonist arriving with his group, right? His young one can sense the energy and tracked it to this spot. The girl in mini shorts notices holes in the wall and says there were supposed to be spirit stones there. The protagonist, knowing how many there should have been, is sure there's a spirit source nearby. The body-painted outfit girl doesn't understand what a spirit source even is. She has no clue. But judging by how interested he is, it must be good. Meanwhile, the spirit inside the staff is getting anxious. They go deeper into the cave, but run into 2 random guys fighting, competing over a staff. The body-painted girl says there's steel arm and bronze leg, 2 of the people who awakened earlier. Supposedly one guy's leg and the other guy's arm are indestructible, like not even a rocket explosion can take them out. The protagonist starts wondering if they rank above him. Wankyu points at the ground and asks if they mean that staff there. It just looks like a twig. But the latex blonde is sure it has to be some kind of illusion. Something is affecting this place. Wankyu says, yeah, something's off. She's smelling something that feels unfamiliar and familiar at the same time. The protagonist is sure. In her past life she lived near springs like these, so there has to be something like that nearby. If she tracked it, then it must be that dishonest disciple. Suddenly the 2 guys fighting say they feel uncomfortable with so many people watching. How about they deal with them first? They both rush in, but the latex girl says they don't even deserve to fight the protagonist, so she'll handle it. She jumps in and starts trading blows. The staff swings at one of them, but he blocks it with his hand. He recognizes her as the Weapon King and says, unfortunately, her ability is useless, and he shatters it with 1 punch. At the same time, the leg guy comes in from behind and nails her in the stomach. She says her tendons are gone. I thought she was going to be useful, but no, just there for the protagonist to save her and farm some aura. He sends the skeleton and the bird in, and they charge, but the 2 guys are still defending fine. And then, my god, the protagonist has to tear her clothes. Like he even needed to, let's be honest. Because her and Nothing aren't that different, but he says he needs to repair her tendons urgently. Shadow Clone Jutsu, a slap on the girl and a ton of energy flowing. Meanwhile, Wankyu is still suffering. saying he's using that intimate healing again. At the same time, the fist guy is smashing the skeleton to pieces. Even the protagonist's creatures are getting wrecked. The bird gets completely shredded. The other one eats a whole combo, then another kick. Back at the spring, the two disciples are farming energy, saying the fight outside sounds intense. The guy says it has to be their dear master, and she says she can't wait for them to evolve and finish him off. Next chapter, after I said there wasn't any clothing left. There's literally nothing left for the blonde now, just a tiny strip. Meanwhile, the other fools are getting thrown into the wall, completely wrecked, and the fist guy says it's a disgrace that the weapon queen is being treated like this. She's really been put in a miserable state. The well-covered girl is shocked and tells the protagonist they should run. Those two have gotten stronger in a way that makes no sense. But the fist guy suddenly charges the protagonist and tries to kick the sword. What happens? His leg gets cut. Congrats, genius. He's standing there in shock, and the fist guy says it's impossible that his leg got destroyed. While the bird and the skeleton laugh, saying the boss's weapon is an indestructible divine item. Right away, the leg guy starts hopping away, trying to escape. But the protagonist pulls out the rope, swings it over, and slams him to the ground, pinned down like an idiot. The fist guy is sure he can't beat this guy. And Subai says he's used that rope to tie up oxen from higher realms, so the guy should feel honored. Wangqiu remembers that, and once again wonders what kind of memories these are. The guy demands he take the rope off and fight like a real man, but our boy just tears off his leg and that's it. Then he tells the skeleton and the other one to activate soul devouring, and they both consume him. Meanwhile, the fully covered girl asks what abilities Subai awakened exactly. The fist guy already gets it, after seeing the rope rip his friend apart. If he tries to face this guy, he has no chance, so he kneels, apologizes, and swears loyalty. The protagonist says he preferred him back when he wanted to fight, but then the guy gets startled, picks up the twig, and asks why the item they were fighting over turned into this trash. When the protagonist says it was an illusion, the guy throws it down in anger, and our guy says the person who made the illusion is right behind that wall, so a fight breaks out inside while the two are enjoying the hot spring. The girl is scared, but he tells her to relax, he's absorbed enough already, and now he can kill that guy easily. Unfortunately for everyone, when the wall breaks, the traitor has already put her outfit back on. At the same time, the fist guy comes in to punch the master. He says the bastard is going to die, but the master dodges easily. Then the queen of gold coins pulls some coins into her hand, uses them like bullets, and pierces the guy all over. He looked like he tanked it for a second. I thought he'd get back up, but he face plants. Wangqiu, once again, seeing that gold shooting ability, wonders where she's seen it before. Both disciples greet the master, saying it's been a long time. Meeting again just to fight would only damage the world's harmony. Then they ask why Senior Wangqiu is standing next to him right now. Did she forget the seniors and juniors' plans? Suddenly she grabs her head and says she doesn't know what they're talking about, and her brain feels like it's splitting. The latex queen wants to know why Wangqiu seems to know these people, and why everyone keeps calling Subai master. The skeleton and the bird are stunned. The person they call master is calling master the people who are calling the protagonist master. Yeah, it's a mess, but you get it. The protagonist just asks if Yunbin tried to kill him that day of the tribulation and if Hao Ji was acting under his orders. But Yunbin tells the master to stop asking so many questions. They can settle it with swords, and Hao Ji pulls out her coins, saying it's a shame she'll have to finish off Wan Chu, since she's standing by the master. But she's shocked to see Wan Chu herself step in front of our guy, ready to sacrifice herself for him. She screams, asking if she forgot all the evil things he'd done. But Wan Chu fires back that they're the ones doing evil, not him. She hasn't known Subai for that long, but she believes him, and that's why, if they want to kill him, they'll have to go through her first. The Queen of Coins says fine. Then she's basically asking to die. Right then, the little outfit girl jumps into the fight. She shows up already defending everyone, swatting the coins away and throwing them off. Artist, I don't even know what to say to you. And she answers that she loves gossip and fighting, so this place is perfect for her. The coin girl tells her to stop sticking her nose into other people's business and launches another attack, a whole barrage of coins, while the woman just tanks it all with her staff. The protagonist is mostly staring at the guy lying there, not looking too worried. Then, actually no, he just drags the guy into the banner too. Boom. Reborn inside the staff. The guy's confused, trying to figure out what he's doing there. The protagonist tells him that if he becomes a servant, he'll get an immortal body. The skeleton and the bird don't look thrilled about it, but since he'll die if he refuses, he obviously decides it's a huge opportunity. Meanwhile, the protagonist is thinking that in this life, he wants to build a group of followers who are loyal. Yeah, not sure the best plan is beating a bunch of people and then stuffing them into the staff, but he gives his speech anyway. You're my servants, but you're also my friends. I'm looking forward to what you can do. And they all swear they'll give it everything they've got. Then the protagonist tells the three of them to handle the problem of the day. The creatures move in while the little outfit girl keeps defending against the coin attacks, but the money queen pulls off this super flexible dodge, drops into a stretch on the ground, and says she expected someone who practiced demonic arts for so long to be skilled. But he should remember this technique. She summons that giant coin from the beginning again and activates Treasure Fall, slamming the skeleton into the ground. At the same time, the steel fist charges the other master, but one look and he drops like a complete idiot. The guy even looks at Subai and asks if he's really accepting trash like that as disciples. He's fallen so far, and since that's how it is, he wants to challenge him to a sword technique duel, something Subai himself taught him. He immediately attacks the protagonist. Wang Q says the energy is massive. The protagonist recognizes it as one of the strongest techniques he ever created. The only way to block it is by summoning the wall of swords. The disciple's blade crashes straight into the sword wall. These guys are really playing sword games, huh? Watching all this, Wang Qiu seems to be recovering more and more of her memories. She's seen all those techniques before. The disciple keeps pressing forward, throwing a chain of attacks at the protagonist. He thinks he found an opening and goes for a clean hit. But again, he runs into the sword barrier, his blade almost at the protagonist's neck, when the protagonist tells him his sword still isn't sharp enough. Then the disciple's sword shatters completely. The girls cheer, saying that as expected from Subai, the guy never had a chance. The Queen of Coins is stunned. No wonder the master is the master. What she can't understand is why Wang Qiu is on this man's side now. No matter how incredible and strong he is, he deserves to die. The big skeleton says he doesn't care that he's trapped. As long as Subai is his master, everything's fine. But then the rebellious disciple slams his hand on the ground and says he learned everything the master taught, including that in war, nothing is wrong. Suddenly, the broken sword fragments on the ground shoot toward the protagonist and slice his face. The protagonist yanks the staff's cord, manages to defend himself, and asks where he learned such a filthy technique. The disciple says that as long as he reaches his goal, nothing else matters. The blade is about to hit the protagonist's neck. Wang Qiu screams, "No," while the skeleton does nothing. The Queen of Coins thinks that as long as she can kill the master, it's fine. But her ally is acting disgusting. Then the Steel Hand King steps in and blocks the disciple's sword. The coin girl tells him to get lost, but he says he's not moving. He's here to protect Subai. Even the rebellious disciple is shocked that someone using normal abilities in this world could block his attack. The steel-armed guy says he feels bad about being a servant now, but if it's about facing the enemy who killed him, he's obviously going all out. He forces the sword back, extends his fist, and punches him straight in the mouth, sending him to the ground and blowing him apart. The skeleton says something is ascending, and he starts lifting the coin too, throwing it into the sky. The Queen of Coins is horrified. How did a mere creature escape her prison? At the same time, the little bird lands on someone's shoulder, saying they're going to devour that woman. She raises another gold coin, and it looks like she's about to block. Meanwhile, the servant crawls out of the wall completely wrecked. He swears Steel Hand will be the next to die and uses the illusory swords technique, slamming him into the wall again. But in the middle of it, he gets distracted. The protagonist cord snakes in and binds him. Steel Hand thanks him for the help, steps in, winds up, lands a clean hook, then follows with a full JoJo-style combo. And the others aren't just standing around cheering, they jump in too. The disciple gets completely devoured, only his shell is left. Right away, someone says something's off. He felt like mud. The protagonist recognizes it as a body transfer technique, but it burns an absurd amount of energy. And then the guy appears again in front of them, rising out of another mud puddle, saying the master is here but only relying on treasures. He's supposed to be the sword master, so where's his real talent? Wang Qiu warns the protagonist not to fall for the trap, but the disciple keeps yelling, telling the junior to shut up. Then he fires an attack at her. Little Outfit says the situation is dangerous. The skeletons are shocked, but the protagonist just sends a sword to block it mid-flight. The disciple is sure his attack can't be blocked until the giant coin redirects his blade. When he starts to complain, his ally says he can't just kill the junior sister who's part of the plan, but he says someone who protects that master is useless. Now the Queen of Coins starts finding it weird. Why is he attacking one of them? That makes no sense. The disciple seems to realize he really did act strangely. He says he lost his head for a moment and thanks her for blocking the attack. She relaxes and says, "Good. He really is the man I respect." But while they're all caught up in that, the sword is sitting at the spring. That's when they realize the protagonist didn't block the attack. He threw it into the spring on purpose. The junior disciple asks if he's lost it. Then the water behind them starts trembling and an explosion shoots into the sky. Somehow the kid made a water phoenix. And they start realizing it's not just an illusion this time. The creature is actually alive. That's because the phoenix lived inside the sword, which absorbed energy and managed to materialize it. The junior disciple can't understand how that's possible. This world doesn't even have that much energy. The protagonist explains that a spring like this always has a guide, and the only substances that can guide it are a rhinoceros spirit or guiding mist. Since guiding mist doesn't exist in a world without spiritual energy, it has to be a rhinoceros spirit inside a crystal, an item that's useless to humans but necessary to create divine weapons. I don't understand any of this, but I'm guessing the sword has that rhinoceros attribute, so he threw it into the lake knowing it would act as the guide, and that's why the phoenix appeared. And the Queen of Coins says that even if he's cruel, his knowledge is intoxicating. The phoenix flaps its wings and the junior gets wrecked trying to defend himself. Phoenix fire has a property that melts anything it touches. He calls for Xiaoshu and says they have to run. There's no chance anymore. But the protagonist lashes out with the cord again. The junior activates the mud body technique again and slips away, saying they'll settle this another day. The blonde with the painted outfit asks why Subai doesn't chase them and kill them now. He explains that just because he nurtured this divine weapon doesn't mean it recovered all its powers. The phoenix he summoned with the spring only lasts a few seconds, then it dissolves and returns to the sword. The skeletons are impressed, saying he made an incredible plan by pretending he had phoenix power to force both of them to flee. The protagonist thanks Steel Fist for defending him. The guy is thrilled even if he's a servant now. At least the boss thanked him. Then the protagonist steps into the spring and calls everyone in. Painted Outfit starts taking off the little clothing she has to jump in, but she's got what? A boot and that's it. She jumps in excited. But the protagonist warns her it's the kind of liquid you have to enter slowly or it resists you and you'll smack your face. And of course the obvious happens. Everyone wants energy. The little skeletons get into the pool, everybody's like, my god, I need more power. While the women are all shaking from the energy and the other one finally works up the courage and jumps in too. But as she enters and starts advancing realms, she gets more memories about how deep Subai's teachings are, how the two of them destroyed demons together. She also learns how to cause natural disasters and bring calamity to all humans. She finally understands why he's called Master and also why he's a demon. She's furious. Meanwhile, the protagonist is more focused on the fact that he advanced realms again. At this new level, his perception of everything around him is way sharper. He can even sense parts of his servant's thoughts. But then he's shocked to see Wan Chu stand up. Beautifully drawn, she pulls her sword, points it at the master and says he's a demon. He should have died a long time ago and today he's going to give up his life. Little Outfit wants to know why Sister Wan Chu is suddenly attacking Subai. Steel Arm realizes that a second ago she was weak, so where is that aura coming from? Both skeletons are sure there's no way to block that attack, and the protagonist realizes Wan Chu is recovering her memories as her strength returns too. And this is a blade strike he won't be able to block easily. He'll have to destroy the realm he just advanced to just to stop it. He's about to sacrifice it when suddenly she jolts and collapses beside him, passing out in the water out of nowhere. Steel Arm says he was going to defend him, it's just that she fainted. He was about to die for the kid. The protagonist just tells the skeletons to check what's going on with her. One of them explains her neural pathways are blocked, and that's what made her pass out. Probably a mind control technique. The protagonist realizes it's Yunibin's fault from the attack he used earlier. That damn former disciple was useful after all. And now that she's changed, unfortunately there's no reason to keep her around. The kid is about to slice her up, but Painted Outfit steps in front of her and tells him to breathe. If he wants to kill Sister Wan Chu, he'll have to kill her first. The protagonist just throws his sword into the wall and says that the moment they leave this place, the next time he sees Wan Chu, she's dead. He really just abandons her like that, not caring at all. And the protagonist knows it. With so many disciples hunting him, he'll have to kill everyone, or he'll be the one who ends up dead. The good part is that every spring like this always has an entrance to another world. It'll probably lead somewhere full of unknown, worrying things, but also opportunities. Down below, he finds a wall full of crystal. He walks up, puts his hand on it, and a space opens up, filling with smoke. He realizes the place has a dense concentration of spiritual energy, but it's almost poisonous and he can't absorb it. Still, with his resistance, he can stay there for at least 2 hours. Suddenly, some random dengue mosquito-looking bugs fly in, and the big skeleton appears at his side and starts killing them all. The system says he killed an advanced monster, and the banner gains another point of experience. The protagonist gets excited, because the creatures he'd been killing outside, those zombies, weren't even giving points anymore, meaning he can finally farm again, and he starts spinning the staff. The trio that had been inside again for a second decides to head back out and start killing everything. With that, the staff reaches level 6, and now it looks like it can instantly summon 100 souls. The main character's hyped, saying he needs to take even more advantage of this, and he starts summoning some creatures while mosquitoes just keep showing up nonstop. Back with the girls, the barely dressed one is at the fountain, and Wan Chu, the taller one, wakes up. She's staring at the barely dressed girl from behind, thinking about killing her, since she's friends with Subai, and the other girl can feel Wan Chu's intent to kill. She's already got the wooden staff ready, prepared for a fight. But then Wan Chu hesitates and asks herself what's wrong with her. She was acting just like the protagonist, suddenly wanting to kill an innocent person. Can't complain about the artist, right? At least everything he draws is nice to look at. The barely dressed girl asks where Wan Chu is going, but Wan Chu just ignores her and walks off, wondering if she was really determined to kill that woman. All of that just because that girl was next to the master. She hates that man, and everything he did is unforgivable, but she also couldn't dirty her hands like that. Even so, she swears that one day he's going to die until she suddenly hears someone laughing. Her head starts hurting again, some birds fly past and she collapses unconscious. Meanwhile, the protagonist is down at the bottom of the sea, with the staff spinning the creatures to farm while he cultivates on the ground. He says they've already collected hundreds of souls, and those monsters aren't giving experience anymore. Is it the perfect time to leave? No, because a gigantic mosquito shows up. The big skeleton freaks out, and the thing comes in to stab the protagonist. But the Steel-Armed King shows up and tanks it. The others warn that it's better to retreat now. The protagonist wants to fight, but his resistance to the gas is running out too. The problem is, not farming a giant creature like that would be a waste. But since his protection is fading, his summons are getting affected too. So yeah, looks like they're getting out. Staff up, he stores everyone, and they swim out. The protagonist bummed he wanted one more breakthrough. But then he looks back and sees the giant mosquito chasing them, and he notices that once it leaves the realm it belonged to, it shrinks a lot. So he takes the chance to pull it into the banner. It drops inside a room with other mosquito souls the protagonist already absorbed, and it starts fighting. And he's sure there's still a lot left to explore in that place. He really needs to get even stronger. But at the same time, he's having flashbacks of Wan Q calling him a monster. And he wonders why people think he's the villain. Why did all the disciples betray him like that? To figure out those mysteries, he really needs more power. I think it's because you only want to get stronger and stronger that they betrayed you. Then Steel Arm tells him he found a catalog from that place, with records of various creatures. As soon as they get out of the sea, he runs into the barely dressed girl again, and asks where Wang Qiu is. She says Wang Qiu also thought about killing her, but then turned around and left. The protagonist tells them to move, while the blonde says that if her friend had attacked, she would have died. It's funny how she says that and the protagonist doesn't care at all. Boom, they're out of the cave and he doesn't even react to that information. Then the scene switches to some adventurers in the mountains finding Wang Qiu passed out. Since she's holding a sword, everyone knows she's an ability user. And in that group there's a girl named Bai Yu who immediately feels some inexplicable connection with Wang Qiu. Yeah, the story really loves putting women together so they can clash. She recognizes Wang Qiu was hit by a mental attack and her nerves are in chaos. After her friend helps her up, Wang Qiu wakes up kind of dazed and recognizes sister Yu Yu. Yu Yu is confused, wanting to know how Wang Qiu even knows her name. Wang Qiu realizes right away that just like she lost her memories, Yu Yu went through the same thing. But maybe having no memories is actually better. Still, Wang Qiu is really messed up. She stands up. Yu Yu mentions the mental attack, and Wang Qiu grabs her head as the pain hits again. She's hearing an evil laugh and tells herself that senior brother is destroying her. Yu Yu doesn't get it. First tell me how you know my name, and who is this senior brother that's killing you? But Wang Qiu is talking to herself, wondering whether she should believe senior brother or the master who was actually good, and who was cruel. Yu says she has no idea what the crazy blonde is thinking. But as ability users, all they need to do is kill demons and uphold justice. Wang Qiu says she agrees. Since she can't trust either of them, she'll do what she thinks is right. The headphone-wearing guy named Zhong Yang welcomes her to the squad. He expects great things from Miss Wang Qiu, and together they'll destroy the spirits of this world. She's excited, but also says the place feels familiar, and the group seems to be heading out to collect spirit stones. Then the scene shifts to Yangqiu City. The protagonist Sarah and the barely dressed girl are arriving, and it looks like they came because of that catalog Steel Arm found. Steel Arm warns that this place is known as Hell on Earth. The number of creatures is absurd. The blonde, on the other hand, follows along, saying it's the perfect chance for her to evolve by his side. With Subai nearby, she doesn't have to worry. Then the protagonist's staff says the Gun King has finally been collected. They check the item and the giant mosquito comes out immediately. It comes out devouring everything, and his other servants are shocked at how much stronger it got. The protagonist tells it to go back into the staff and says that in the future it'll have a chance to become a boss-level servant. It's inside but trapped in a little cubicle. Suddenly from the rubble, an old man appears asking the young people to wait. It was a bunch of people hiding from zombies, thanking them. But they warn it's better not to go further, because things only get worse. The blonde tells him not to worry, like he can see. Their team is strong, but the old man says they have no idea that Yangshi City was the first to be destroyed in the apocalypse. The monsters there evolved way more than normal, and the closer you get to the center, the worse it gets. He saw another powerful couple walk into the city holding hands, and they got wiped out fast. Steel Arm tells the protagonist the same thing. Better to come back when they're stronger. But the protagonist says every opportunity comes with risk. It might be dangerous, but it could also be their chance to evolve faster than ever. The old man talks to the kids and says, fine. He tried to convince them, but those two are destined to die. At least he tells the kids that now that the zombies are dead, they can leave. Other people who were hiding start coming out, and everyone celebrates. Then a guy shows up calling to the kids, warning that this isn't the grandpa they know. The old man gives a little laugh, and suddenly transforms into a body covered in tentacles. A bunch of the humans there had already been infected. Everyone tries to run again, but the creature whips out a huge tentacle, yanks a group of about 15 people and tosses them into its mouth. And the protagonist does absolutely nothing. Everyone gets eaten, and that's it. Next chapter. Tight outfit from a low angle, except they painted her skin black. What is that? Artist, are you really gonna start censoring now? After all that? She says she's noticing the monster aura is really high, but they haven't found anything strong. The protagonist says they just need to keep moving, but she's starting to get scared, saying she was out of her mind to follow him. Right then, something grabs her leg and goes in for a bite. When they look around, creatures are coming from every direction. The protagonist pulls out the big staff, releases the giant mosquito, and it alone is sweeping everything. And now he's getting 0.1 experience again. That proves he's really heading towards somewhere with stronger creatures, which is perfect for him. He also summons the cute trio. The bird starts stunning everything, and the skeletons and the big hand guy start mowing through them. Why are they painting the blonde black? Stop that. She asks what his goal is, killing all these weak creatures. He says it's nothing special, just clearing the path, and starts absorbing the souls. A while later, the banner reaches level 7, and with that it unlocks a refining ability, and all the souls drop into the furnace. It looks like it converted energy not only for him, but for all his summons too. The giant mosquito is excited, saying you can really evolve a lot by helping this guy. Meanwhile, the blonde is kicking around and looking at the protagonist, saying she's going to stay close to him for the rest of her life. Then another old man shows up, asking for help. I guess the protagonist didn't see when this one transformed. He'd already gone farther ahead. The Neapolitan girl, she's got 3 colors going on, walks up asking why he's there. Then the old man says the boy looks like the strongest person he's ever seen, but he really shouldn't go forward. Subai takes a look, pulls the staff and just tells them to keep moving, telling the old man not to worry about them. Oh no, I should have suspected it. The moment that tentacle monster showed up, we already knew who was going to get targeted. I thought the artist was going to show off some skill, but no, just straight violence. She's getting thrown into its mouth. But hold on. The protagonist rushes in and rips off a chunk. No way he's letting his blonde die like that. With the girl impaled in its arm, the protagonist says the bastard never fooled him. He was just waiting for it to reveal itself. The poor girl is thinking she's an idiot for not noticing anything. They finally stop doing random blackouts to her, and the protagonist tells her to be quiet. She's lucky to be alive and needs to recover. The tentacle monster says it's impressive. The boy saw through the trick, but it doesn't matter, because both of them are today's meal either way. The skeletons and the whole crew rush in, slicing tentacles. The giant mosquito comes from behind, goes in to suck its back, manages to land a stab but gets shoved away. At the same time, Steel Arm flies in to throw a heavy punch, but right where the punch lands, the creature opens a mouth and swallows him. Yeah, he's getting completely eaten. The first big skeleton goes in from below, but the remaining tentacles wrap around his legs too and fling him back. Meanwhile, the protagonist tells the blonde she needs to be smarter. In a ruined place like this, how would an old man survive? And even more, why would he come talk to them? She turns her face away and snaps back that he shouldn't be so rude to her. She's just a girl. But he shoves her to the ground and says she doesn't look like a girl. What do you mean by that? That she's grown. She's furious, saying he's going to stay single forever because of that. The protagonist doesn't care. He goes back into the sea of consciousness again, and this time he pulls out a sword with an eye. He says he used that same blade to kill a god. Known as the serrated sword, he hadn't seen this old friend in a long time. The tentacle old man tells the boy to cut the act. His time is up, and it goes in for another bite. But the protagonist jumps, reaches the top of the sky, activates the sword by grabbing lightning, and comes down with a vertical slash that splits the creature and causes an explosion. Steel Arm drops to the ground, soaking wet while everyone celebrates, and the barely dressed girl is super excited. But the creature is smiling with just its remains on the ground, saying they're impressive. But they don't understand how its body works. Then it fully reconstructs itself and screams that it's immortal. The protagonist says he never thought he was going to kill it. Steel Arm realizes the attack was only meant to save him. Then the protagonist turns to the big octopus-looking thing and says he has a feeling someone is about to kill it. The creature screams again, telling the bastard to become its food, saying it's going to evolve. It sends tentacles toward the protagonist, who's carrying his girl in a pretty weird way like a doll, and tells the creature it should look behind it before talking about being saved. The octopus suddenly stops, turns around and looks at what seems to be a mantis, the famous praying mantis on top of the building. It jumps down and starts tearing it apart. Looks like they know each other. The tentacle monster tells that damn old mantis to back off or it'll lose its meal. But the praying mantis tells the bastard to stop messing around in his territory. The tentacle says he didn't want to be enemies, but now that he's consumed hundreds of humans, he's not scared anymore and he fires off an attack. Meanwhile, the protagonist and the barely dressed girl are watching everything. She asks who this mantis guy is, and he explains that he's the owner of this area. He always knew there was something stronger than that guy because he kept telling them to stop and not go any farther. So that's the monster the octopus was afraid of, and that's exactly why he wanted to keep going. While he's saying that, the octopus actually manages to grab one of Mantis's claws, but he's bleeding all over. Then he grabs him by the neck and tells him to listen. They should team up and kill that kid first. But Mantis breaks free and starts shredding the tentacles again, saying he's going to eat him first. The octopus is already completely sliced up. Mantis tries to devour him, but it looks like his core is already messed up. The octopus says Mantis was an idiot for consuming him. Now he's poisoned, and he won't survive. And with things like this, the protagonist steps out of the shadows, saying his turn has come. The tentacle understands right away. The guy's coming to collect both of them. And he says again that Mantis was an idiot. No more stupid mistakes. He's getting out of there, and he jumps away, basically saying bye-bye. But the protagonist obviously isn't going to let him. He hops onto the bone bird and draws his sword while the creature warns him it's pointless to try to kill him. He has an immortal body, and he's immune to physical attacks. Except the protagonist's weapon gets wrapped in this blue energy, and he slices straight through the monster. At the same time, that energy looks like it's consuming him. The octopus falls apart and turns into this leftover substance, like ectoplasm. The protagonist explains that where he comes from, lots of people became immortal against physical attacks. That's why the god-slaying sword exists. It's the only thing that can affect a person's spirit. The octopus is screaming, saying it's impossible for something like that to exist. But Subiai tells him to drop the pride and go straight into the banner. Then the skull rises into the sky, and the guys already inside the staff get scared their spots are going to be taken. The creature at the same time is pinned to the ground, his spiritual version. The protagonist calls him into the staff, but warns that he's going to convert him into soul energy for everyone to absorb. The servants are shocked, then immediately thank him, and everyone starts absorbing the tentacle. Basically that, the protagonist's goal is to give bonuses to the ones who deserve it, and punish the ones who deserve that too, because in this life he doesn't want to be betrayed. Then he notices that while he was fighting the octopus, Mantis disappeared. But now that he has that golden core, his perception is even sharper, and he senses Mantis hiding right there to the side. He swings and splits the building in half, forcing the creature to defend himself, completely startled, and suddenly he starts begging some lord to save him. A voice echoes, asking who's causing trouble in Yangshi City. Must be someone tired of living. The protagonist is instantly sure this person is several levels above him, just from the pressure in that voice. Then a palm appears in the sky, turning into a palm of lava. Mantis laughs and says the kid's death is close. But the protagonist says the one dying now is him, and he slashes his throat. At the same time, with the tentacles like on his back, I think, and that palm coming down from above, the barely dressed girl calls out to him, The palm slams into the ground, smoke everywhere. The creatures call for their master. And we see who it is, a guy up in the sky who threw that palm. He looks kind of confused, because under his palm you can see this strange energy showing up. Then the protagonist appears. He managed to use the octopus's power to reposition himself, and he's completely fine. The flaming-headed guy realizes he made some kind of contract, and it wasn't anything harmless. And in the same moment he recognizes that the person has a blade in his hand that looks really similar to something. Then we see his memory from back when the world was full of animals running from the beast attacks. Wait, was he a monkey? Facing off against, I don't know, some Cerberus-like thing, a 30-headed creature? The monster rises up. Its huge mouth starts sucking everything in, and then out of nowhere, the protagonist appears, like from another life, pulls out that sword and drops a thunder strike. The creature gets split in half, the whole place explodes, and the protagonist farms that aura, but he ends up exhausted. The whole area gets wiped clean, and the creatures are too scared to go near him. But that little monkey is the one who picked a fruit and went over to give it to him. After that, before leaving, that guy gave him a spiritual technique. The protagonist said that with those scrolls, he'd only need fruits in the heavens to absorb enough essence to grow. And now the monkey says their fated meeting ends there. But he doesn't seem to buy it, because he tells the protagonist he looks like the one who helped him, which is a crime. The sword is also really similar, which is an even bigger crime. He killed his subordinates, that's the third crime, and he even absorbed the tentacle's mana, which is the worst one of all. That's why he's going to die now, and he throws a spinning slash at him. The protagonist activates his creatures, but the whole city is getting swept up. Still, he manages to block. His beasts warn him that the guy in front of them is at disaster level. They don't stand a chance. It's time to run. But the kid looks around and realizes they're already inside that guy's domain, so there's no escaping. And besides, they just absorbed powerful creatures. It would be embarrassing to run right after evolving. Like always, they're settling it in a fight. He summons the mosquito and sends it in. Steelfist says fine if Subai is confident there's no reason to doubt him, and charges too, along with the skeleton and the bird. Even the barely dressed girl rushes in, but the monkey just slaps the sky, creating an ice explosion that freezes everyone. Everybody turns into popsicles and drops to the ground. At least they didn't shatter in half. And the monkey is bold. He comes down and lands right in the middle of them. Now everyone's sure they have zero chance of beating him. In the middle of everyone giving up, the barely dressed girl, terrified, calls Subai and asks what he did because it looks like he's about to go for a reckless duel. One-on-one. Now they're face to face. The lackeys are all saying the master either lost it or has a plan. The monkey says it's interesting that he isn't running, and that this way he'll show the power he really has. The protagonist tightens his grip on the spear, shifts his movement, and almost gets to the monkey, but the monkey dodges. The protagonist throws a barrage of attacks, but the creature slips out easily, saying someone at his level doesn't have any chance. But then the skeleton up close activates a green energy. The monkey says all he can feel is warm air. What a joke. He uses that spinning palm skill again and slaps, but weirdly nothing triggers. The lackeys down below don't understand why the monkey's powers seem to be failing. Even the monkey stares at the skeleton, trying to figure out why he's being affected by some low-level tool. The protagonist up on the bird says there's no point figuring it out, because there's nothing he can do about it. But the flaming-headed guy says he's about to learn the strength of someone who's reached the golden core level. He tries to activate a wind barrier, but it fails again, and the protagonist drives the sword into his chest. The others start thinking the protagonist really won, and that the creature's soul got pulled out of his body. The creature is wondering how that's even possible, so the protagonist explains. Wind, fire, thunder, light, every force of nature depends on air. And his banner isn't just for absorbing souls, it can also create a vacuum around all of them, and that way no other element can manifest. So yeah, solid strategy. Everyone starts sucking up to him, but the monkey doesn't look discouraged. He asks if Subai really thought he'd win with something that simple. He summons a red gorilla and says it's easy to get out of this. He just needs to trigger self-destruction, and nobody will make it out of this city alive. Now the group is shaking for real. If Subai loses, they die too. They're already saying, Subai, give the order for us to run so we can get out alive. The protagonist laughs at him talking about self-destruction. That was one of the only things he should have forgotten. Then he starts chanting, calling on heaven and earth, the universe, chaos, yin and yang. Blue beams of light with Japanese-style hieroglyphs, all wrapped around it, appear at the tip of the sword. It looks like a sealing technique, and the monkey recognizes something like it from the past, so he asks the protagonist what his sword is called. The kid says it's the god-slaying cutter, and he launches the attack, surrounding the monkey completely. But the creature looks confused, because the person he met in the past called that sword nameless, meaning the kid in front of him isn't the one who took care of him. But after that attack, the protagonist takes a step back and orders the creature to become his servant. The staff activates a capture ability, chains shoot out and bind the creature's soul, and it starts getting dragged in. The monkey screams, saying the kid has potential, but there's no way he'd be captured by someone so much weaker. He breaks all the chains. The protagonist realizes that with this level gap, the banner really won't work. He tells the monkey it's better to accept being a servant, otherwise he'll burn forever in purgatory. But the monkey says he'll only respect one person in this life, his old master, so the guy in front of him isn't worthy. The protagonist gives him that cold, unbothered stare, pulls out another sword, and says if that's how it is, the creature will be sealed forever. Then the sword gets shoved back into the sheath, along with the monkey's soul, while he screams that he doesn't want to be sealed. Too late, he's captured. They got tired of throwing black paint on the girl, and now they're doing this little blur effect. She and the rest of the group are hyped that the protagonist finally beat that monkey. Everyone's praising him, saying it's crazy he actually made it out alive. But they still need to be careful, because there are other commander-level creatures nearby. So the protagonist pulls the sword and talks to the monkey's spirit to find out how many creatures are there and what their levels are. The monkey clearly doesn't feel like answering. The protagonist says fine, he's going to kill them all anyway. He just wanted to make things easier. The monkey says he doesn't care about those creatures. They were only there to collect the spirits of heaven and earth for him, and now that he's at Subai's side, they're useless. The protagonist is confused. Zombies like those didn't collect spirits. The monkey says yes, he knows they don't. He's trying to return to his real world. He was building an army to gain more power and find a passage back to where he came from. The protagonist understands immediately. This creature doesn't belong to this world. He's from a place where you absorb spiritual energy, so he's not from the same world as him. But while they're talking, they're being watched through a pipe. Some humans underground completely shocked, saying a young kid took down the demon in a single slash, which is obviously not true because he slashed him a bunch of times. They're terrified, asking if he really dealt with the humanoid. And everyone starts crying, saying they're finally free and can stop hiding. They keep saying the kid is the hero of Yangshi City, but they really shouldn't count on that. Then one of them asks, what if this is another act by the creatures? These monsters are full of little schemes that kills the mood instantly, until one calm kid pulls out a paper and says he'll go up there. If it's a trick, he dies. If it's not, they'll find out. The risk is worth it considering how long they've been stuck down there. Then the kid shows up on the surface, calls out to the protagonist, and asks him to wait a second. He thanks him for killing all the creatures and says the people of Yangshi City will be grateful forever. They heard the conversation about him wanting to know where the monsters are, and this is a map with all the notes of everything they know. He wants to give it to him to help wipe out all these monsters for humanity. The protagonist can tell the kid has a different aura, like someone chosen by the heavens. He puts his hand on the boy's head and says he can tell he's destined for great things. An opportunity will appear for him. Inside the sword, the monkey watches it all and feels something familiar. The technique being used, even the exact words were the same ones the master had mentioned to him that time. But the protagonist tells that damn orangutan to back off. Nobody in that city belonged to him anymore. Then he tells Iron Fist to share the map with everyone so they can come up with a plan. And the plan is super complex, right? Find the commanders, kill them and absorb them. That's it. Everyone thanks him and immediately rushes off. The kid, though, just stands there staring at the protagonist, saying he's already memorized the hero's face and that one day he wants to be just as strong as him. Meanwhile, here comes another kid who's going to become a disciple and betray someone later. Speaking of traitor disciples, look who's there. That bastard says he can feel that a disaster-level creature was defeated, but at the same time he realizes part of its body still exists. The damn master really was making things harder and harder. Still, it's fine. Once he gets the body of that certain monster, everything will be over. While he's busy with his little schemes, the protagonist's skeleton is on its way to finish off another creature and absorb it right away. He devours the turtle's shell while Iron Fist is fighting a Cerberus, steals its energy and forms some claws. After a while of farming, everyone's thanking them. This was an insanely productive day for the protagonist, and they even brought back the items they collected. What is this? The girl is completely Minecraft pixelated, but honestly, I feel like pixelation somehow makes it even worse. Like it's hinting that something way more terrifying is going on, when we already know what she looks like. I don't know if that censoring helped at all. Oh, I get it. They brought the items, she devoured everything, and she's thanking them. She's just side-eyeing the protagonist, saying he really does have a huge heart. The monkey notices it. That bastard, every subordinate loves him. What kind of nonsense is that? Too bad his real master got betrayed by his disciples. The protagonist tells him to shut up, then tells everyone to focus, because they're gonna digest all that energy. Meanwhile, in the city, well, look who found the monkey's body. The traitor. He puts a hand on its chest and feels concentrated fragments. He's in shock, wondering who could have defeated a disaster-level creature like that. But leaving the body there is perfect for him. Wait, I thought he already knew it was the protagonist. Apparently he doesn't. He draws his sword to start a ritual, cuts his own arm and spills blood onto the body. Elsewhere in the city, we see a blonde woman running away with a child. The father stopped to hold them off. No, wait, it was a mother. It's the sister who's running. The kid is screaming for their mom, but it's too late. She got devoured. After a while, the siblings are walking together. They find a creature on the ground and she pulls a sword out of its chest. But then she feels a weird electricity running through her body and another zombie comes up behind her. The monster goes in for a bite, but she lets out a scream and throws a punch that rips its head clean off. She goes full demon mode and starts tearing through everything. Then this big ugly thing comes from behind to swipe at her, but she slices again. Suddenly it's sashimi. Bits of the creature rain down while the kid calls out to his sister asking what happened. She says she has no idea, but considering there's a face flying around in the sky, she knows it's better not to stay in that city. That's how she took her little brother to Shining, a place where supposedly all the troops had stabilized. And then, wow, she left him there while she went looking for weapons she could absorb to get stronger. Oh, now I get it. It's the protagonist's girl, the blonde one with barely any clothes. And it looks like the last time she saw the protagonist, he told her to go to the Cave of Spiritual Weapons to get stronger. Now we're in the Valley of Blades. All the creatures inside the protagonist's staff are talking about how strange this place feels, while he's trying to use his tracking ability to find a cave about 5 kilometers away. It was obvious that without dear Wangqiu nearby, finding spirit stones and an energy source was harder. He doesn't even know if she's alive or dead. They're getting closer when all of a sudden a golden-winged eagle flies by. That's what it's called, I guess, because to me those wings don't look golden at all. Out of nowhere the thing lets out a screech and dives at the protagonist, almost landing a hit. But look who's still here. The blonde with barely any clothes. She smacks the bird and it gets shredded instantly. The protagonist summons the giant mosquito, tells it to follow that creature, and the two of them take off. He ends up learning that the eagle was being controlled by that red-haired guy, who tells his eagle to be more careful because this time it brought enemies back with it. He lights a flame on his spear, winds up that Spartan-style attack, and hurls it at the mosquito. The mosquito dodges, but the spear explodes midair and slams it into a wall. Before the guy can do anything else, the protagonist is already closing in with the group. The blonde asks if that's the entrance to the spiritual weapons cave. The guy with the samurai bun pulls out his spear and tells them to stay right there. Nobody's putting their hands on that cave, and he charges the protagonist. The protagonist draws his sword and staff and blocks the attack. An explosion goes off and the protagonist gets launched so far it's ridiculous. Even the bird gets thrown back. The bun guy says the protagonist isn't bad, he's got some skill. So who is he? Iron Arm immediately tells the protagonist he recognizes that guy, the leader of the Eastern Kingdom and the Spear King. Basically a martial master. And damn it, they painted over the blonde again, and it looks like even she knows who he is. Someone who defeated a commander with a single attack and then vanished. People say he has a cruel temperament, and everyone's famous in this story, because he recognizes them too. Iron Fist and the Queen of Weapons. It's just a shame their fighting style is still so amateur. And the kid in the middle looks more like a monster in human form than an actual person. The censored one tells them to show respect to Master Subai, but he points at the banner and says an evil artifact like that is only used by demons. Looks like everyone there fell under some kind of spell and can't even tell good from evil anymore, but it's fine. He'll take them all down and save them. He rushes in, but Iron Fist jumps forward and blocks with his forearm, saying it's going to be impossible for him to win. At the same time, the blonde appears at his side and tries to smack him, but he blocks again. While everyone's shocked at how insanely fast he is, the protagonist just watches. The guy starts throwing helicopter-like strikes. 2 more come at him from the front, but he just smiles. Then he multiplies and manages to hit both of them. And who was the genius that splashed paint on her right when she fell like that? The spear guy tells the queen to stay still, or he'll have to get cruel. She insists Subai isn't a monster, but he says at the very least he's an evil cultivator, and anyone carrying an item like that can't coexist with humanity. Suddenly the skeleton comes from behind to land a hit. It connects perfectly, and does absolutely nothing. The protagonist is impressed. Not only are the guy's reflexes good, his defense is too. The Spear King says anyone who attacks like that is clearly on an evil path, and he counters, smashing the skeleton's arm. The protagonist, on the other hand, is now more interested in guiding this guy, thinking this young man is insanely talented. If I teach him a bit, he'll become a monster. The Spear King jumps again to strike the skeleton, but now the bird appears from the side and activates that crazy screaming psycho skill, only for another hand to show up. Yeah, the hand of the guy who also has an eagle, and he slams the protagonist's bird into the ground. When the spear guy is about to finish the skeleton, the protagonist appears and says nobody there is a villain. Why not turn that hostility into friendship? The guy says he'll never believe a lie like that, and the two spears clash. It looks like the mountain couldn't take it, because there's an explosion. Wind blasting everywhere. When he opens his eyes again, the protagonist is right there. It looks like he only blocked. Honestly, I don't get it. And he even lectures him, saying his energy is way too volatile. If he doesn't start regulating it immediately, he'll suffer a mana deviation. The spear guy says they're ridiculous, like he'd ever lose control of his power. He'll show them who the real monster is, who's truly uncontrollable, and he goes back in with a full combo on the protagonist. The protagonist just stands there, calmly defending left and right. The spear guy leaps, comes down from above, and detonates the spear into the ground. It's like an atomic bomb in the middle of the mountain. The protagonist's creatures and his allies all get thrown back, rocks shattering everywhere. But when they look through the smoke, the protagonist is standing there smiling, right behind the spear. And wow, he snapped the tip, and he even stole it out of the guy's hand. The spear guy turns red, has a full-on episode nosebleed, collapses, coughing. The protagonist walks up and says revenge might have motivated him to train, but now it's become an obstacle to his progress. And there's his lesson. The Spear King tells him to back off and not even think about stealing his soul. Iron Arm tells him to show respect because the protagonist was helping him. Subai just stares, and then the Spear King calls the Golden Eagle and tells it to leave. From now on, it's a free creature. It shouldn't worry about him or all this chaos. It should run because he can't move anymore. The poor guy keeps repeating to himself that he learned the spiritual spear technique, the whole energy comprehension thing, and he thought he'd free Yangshi City, but it wasn't enough. The bird laughs, saying they already freed the city, then suddenly gets stabbed in the head. He tells it to shut up, like they freed anything. His whole family is still living underground to this day. He screams again, ordering the bird to go far away, but his arm looks like it's hurting, and he keeps swearing he'll kill everyone. The protagonist stays calm and tells him to calm down too. He's way too agitated, and he won't be able to maintain spiritual control like that. He even asks the guy's eagle to try talking to him, and the protagonist thinks to himself that all the awakened people in this world are obsessed. That's good in theory, but at the same time it's extremely dangerous. The Spear King looks at the eagle, still not understanding what it's saying, and lowers his head. He goes into that classic cultivation pose, hugging himself. It looks more like he's suffering than training. The protagonist fixes the spear, making sure that for someone this competitive and proud, admitting defeat is worse than death. Then he pulls one of the ribbons off the spear and says it's a calming mantra. He needs to practice with it for 3 hours under its effect, and it's the only way he'll survive. For the love of everything, stop dumping paint over the blonde. This is infuriating. She asks why he's helping that guy now. The protagonist tells everyone to remember what the goal of their journey is. He says that and doesn't answer her directly. Because the spear guy asks if he dies, will the protagonist help his family? So Bai just says no, and tells him to focus on resting, since that was the Spear King's mission. Which is true, right? He's trying to dump the responsibility on someone else. And the protagonist walks off thinking, he's always appreciated talent and exceptional strength, but in this life he's looking for something more than that. Things his traitor disciples didn't have. Speaking of them, I miss them. I like the disciple part of the story, you know? Where are they? Not just because of their natural talent, but because of the plot too. Sometime later, someone calls the Spearmaster Uncle Hao. He turns around asking if it's Xiaojun. He doesn't know what's going on. Is he really seeing someone? Or is this an illusion? It's the kid in the cap in front of him, the one who switched chapters. He asks about the family, and the kid says everyone's fine, everyone's alive. The monsters are dead, and Yangshi City has been freed. The spear guy can't process it. How? The kid says he even got an item from the person who freed Yangshi. That person said if he masters it, he'll be able to reach anywhere in the world, and he brought it to Uncle Hao since he's the strongest person in the family and should be able to understand it. When he flips through the book, he sees something about absorbing the essence of the sun and moon, a technique that lets you use the enemy's power, and he realizes it's really similar to what he felt when he fought Sabai. Maybe that guy had this technique. So the Spear King asks if he got it from the man who saved the city, and the kid confirms it. He asks for a drawing, saying he'll show him. Then he draws the protagonist's face on the ground, exactly like him, Sun Jianbo. Now the idiot is like, oh my god, he saved the city, and I thought he was an evil cultivator. Then he goes, kid, stay right there. Soon as I can, I'm taking you to meet the hero. The boy's still kind of confused, but all of a sudden what looks like a flaming head comes in from the side, and the guy's eagle attacks immediately. The two collide, and he's like, wait, didn't the flame head already kill that guy? Shouldn't he be dead? The scene completely switches over to the city of Yangshi. Look who's there, our protagonist group, Wanchu's crew showing up saying they're going to free the city, right? They have no idea that actually there are only people there. Some guys walk up like, are you the rescue team? Welcome to the city. You who's there all excited, starts asking what's going on. Wasn't this place supposed to be hell? How is everyone fine? Is she losing it? Wanchu says she can tell they're normal people. On top of that, she can't feel the presence of any commander-level creature in the area. The chubby guy goes, well, Wanchu's senses are the best. If she says it, it's probably true. The guy with the headset starts talking. So what happened here? Wasn't this city hell? What changed? And the glasses guy says, it was, but a powerful guy showed up about 4 or 5 days ago and killed all the demons. Now the place is cleared out and people are calling it paradise on earth. The big guy wants to know, seriously, who's strong enough to clear an entire city by himself? As far as everyone knew, there was a disaster-level creature here. The guy says, look over there, we're putting up a monument to the hero who will live in our hearts forever. A gigantic statue of the protagonist, Konoha Village vibes. The short kid is in shock. He recognizes it right away, it's the master, and you asks if she might know that person. Because when she looks at the statue, she feels something evil. The glasses guy immediately tells her to show more respect, because that person is the great hero. If it weren't for him, everyone would still be living in the catacombs. Yuask suddenly gets hit with a wave of it. Her head starts hurting. And now Wang Q starts to waver too, her heart sinking. She says she always thought he was the evil one, but he's out here saving the city while that other brother tried to kill her. She turns to Yu and says maybe they were the ones who got the master wrong. Then she says she has to find out the truth about what happened. She knows that if he came to Yangshi, it's because he wants to reach the spirit cave. Speaking of caves, here we are. Heading in, barely dressed, and you can tell right away all the rocks in there look like they're on fire. He says they're actually firestones, that's why. And that's exactly why any attack from outside was causing explosions. The monkey on the spear is stunned. He never imagined a cave with that much spiritual power. If he could absorb it, that spear wouldn't be able to hold him for long. Even with her skimpy outfit, Yudu's getting overheated. Then suddenly the protagonist throws his arm in front of her, because a fire snake is coming in and blasts flames at both of them. He grabs her by the waist and yanks her back and she's yelling that it burns, that she's on fire. The protagonist knows that in a place like that, it's hard for normal people to survive. Wait, but isn't she Lan, the weapon goddess? Thought she was supposed to be tough. He sends the staff's creatures to attack. But what are they supposed to do, punch flames? Obviously it's doing nothing. The bird lands on someone's head and tries a sonar attack. That one works. The snake starts screaming that it's too loud, but then it thrashes around and flings everyone away. Seeing that reaction, the protagonist is sure the creature must be carrying the core. If that's the case, it's worth testing that technique. He pulls the sword off his back and the blonde asks if he's really going to use that. The monkey on the other side asks if the kid is blind. That fire snake doesn't have any life force. How's he going to use a blade that cuts energy? Why not let the monkey handle it? With his ice arts, he could stop it easily. But the protagonist says this is exactly the situation he wanted. The snake lunges to bite 3 flame attacks while he keeps dodging. One blast, he jumps over it, closes in, it whips its tail, and the protagonist gets slammed into the ground again. The snake is laughing, and this time instead of stepping out of the smoke, he steps out of the flames and it looks like the sword is piercing through. He hits something because the snake starts getting pulled toward the sword while saying it's impossible. The monkey understands immediately. The protagonist is using a cultivation technique, absorbing energy from the surroundings to pull the snake in. The same technique the monkey learned from the protagonist in the other world. So now he's still wondering how this guy knows it too. Right then an essence orb drops to the ground. The monkey thinks it's the perfect chance, but of course the protagonist snatches it in the same second and tells him to stop staring at it. He acts like it's no big deal, like he's not interested in something like that. But inside he's furious. If he got that, it would be his freedom. Then the protagonist makes the sword touch the orb. It lets out a burst and turns completely red. He says that as always, it was a good harvest. But to keep that bunch of idiots loyal, he has to share the power. With the staff recharged, he activates the enhancement, and everyone starts gaining energy and celebrating. Even the giant mosquito thanks him. The only one who doesn't get anything, because she isn't part of the staff, is Yuju. The protagonist turns to her and says he can't use the 10,000 souls staff on her because she isn't connected to it, but he can still share power with her, and then he does it, and it's like a full-on rock concert across her back. Apparently the band was good because she nearly passes out saying it was intense. Suddenly they hear someone calling for Uncle Hao. They look toward the cave entrance, and there's the samurai coconut head with the little kid, and that same flaming head bastard is there beating everyone up. Which is weird because that guy shouldn't be alive. The Spearmaster yells, demanding to know what's going on. Everyone said the monsters in Yangshi were dead, so why is this guy here? The kid in the cap says something's wrong. He's absolutely sure he saw that guy die. Subai steps out of the cave saying that guy is dead. The Spear King apologizes, drops to his knees, saying he didn't recognize Subai's greatness. The protagonist just tells him to stop and asks him not to act so impulsively in the future. And the kid in the cap asks, "Hey hero uncle, if that guy's dead, why is he clearly alive over there?" Subai says he must be getting controlled by someone else. The monkey asks who could have that kind of power. The protagonist talks about demonic arts from the beast path. He activates a jutsu and says he knows exactly who can do this. His energy expands, and far away on top of a mountain he finds Yunbin. He sends a message saying it's good to see the excellent disciple Yunbin has. Yunbin's image appears behind the monkey, saying that as expected the master is always exceptional. He saw through the technique in a single glance, but recognizing something so trivial doesn't matter, because in the end he won't stop the catastrophe Yunbin is about to create. He calls for the monkey to attack, saying that even strengthened like this he won't survive. And now it's that classic thing. The Spear King was insane. But since he's on the protagonist's team now, what happens? He takes one punch and gets blasted into a wall. Same story every time. When he's an enemy, he's a monster. Once he joins the team, he turns into trash. The protagonist stays confident, saying his servants are more than enough to handle it. He sends the whole team in while the disciple says he has no idea what kind of strength he created in that creature. An attack comes in, energy that looks like shards of ice, but the protagonist summons keep dodging. At the same time, the big skeleton and the steel arm are tanking hits, and skimpy outfit girl charges in too to help, saying the fight is exciting. The disciple is shocked that Subai's summons are holding up. Then the protagonist is already on top of the eagle, closing in on the monkey, saying he shouldn't be surprised by something that simple. He draws his sword, the guy recognizes the power, but before he can say anything, gone, sliced in half. During all that, the monkey figures out the protagonist was betrayed by his disciples, and thinks it's an absurd coincidence. Meanwhile, far away, that idiot Yunbin takes the backlash. That technique costs a ton of energy, and having it cut like that hits him hard. He tries to escape, but the protagonist teleports and is right next to him in an instant. Yunbin turns around saying it's impossible he got located like that. He's only been in this world a few days. How did he already reach this level? The protagonist says he'll give him a chance to find out, because there's an open spot inside the banner. How about joining the group? And he swings the sword. Yunbin tries to block, but the lash hits him square in the chest. Explosion on the mountaintop, but the bastard manages to dodge. He has that technique where he breaks apart. Right away, he slices his hand and says he'll restore his body using his own blood. He's going to use the Golden Fortress Alliance. Then a goat, a crocodile, and a bunch of spirits show up behind him, and he turns into full Naruto mode. He warns the protagonist that the corpse he sent was only the beginning of the plan. He tells the protagonist to get ready, then tells Fashu to attack first. And here I thought Fashu was a monster, but it's actually the short skirt girl with way too many coins. She starts throwing money at the protagonist. A giant coin appears around the battlefield, while the protagonist is impressed. Her movement flow is unpredictable. Then she turns around, waves goodbye to the master, and says they'll meet again another time. At the same time, the three beast creatures attack, but the protagonist just activates the sword and starts shredding them. 1/2 instant kills. The protagonist bird even says it'll finish the last one, but the creature raises a staff and the poor thing gets struck by lightning. It tells the protagonist something's off, that energy is above commander level. The protagonist realizes Yunbin gave it a strengthening stone to amplify it. He calls the bird back into the staff and sees the creature is surrounded by lightning, so he can't get close. But it's the perfect chance to test the fire orb. Everyone's always watching from inside that staff anyway, so the protagonist uses a little jutsu, and throws out a dragon coming from the sword. The creature fires lightning at the same time, then it's a straight-up Dragon Ball clash, power against power, explosion in the sky, mountain splitting, someone bouncing from one side to the other. Next scene, just smoke on the ground and the remains of the creature that got killed. The monkey tells the protagonist to stop risking his life, because if the protagonist dies, he dies too. But at the same time, he's noticing again that the technique the protagonist used reminded him of his old master, and the protagonist thinks Yunbin must be terrified. He abandoned a staff with a rare stone like that just to run. When his banner reaches level 8, he gains the ability to borrow his servant's abilities once a day for a limited time. The protagonist even thanks Yunbin. The little stone he left behind gave him a massive boost, but he still needs to get stronger even faster. The goal is, next time he sees those two, he's killing them for good. Then the protagonist goes back to meet Skimpy Outfit Girl and the little kid, and hands her the dance again. Here, take it. Another present for you. He says it's just some trash he found lying around. She's about to complain, but then the absorption starts and she feels the energy. What's the point of this? Why all that? Let the girl absorb her energy in peace. Come on, artist. Seriously. She has to almost pass out every time just because she's the skimpy outfit one. The Spear King asks about the guy who attacked them, and the protagonist says unfortunately he got away, but he left a great present behind. Then Subai asks why he's interested. He says that a while ago, a certain person passed through there. He noticed she had a strange black aura that looked really similar to what that guy used, so he figured there had to be a connection. The protagonist wonders if she's related to Yunbin. What did she look like? He says her name was Ye, and she had purple hair pulled tight into a ponytail and a really short outfit. The protagonist recognizes it immediately. That description is enough to know it was disciple Qingxuan. And we'll meet the badass in the next chapter, and we're back to the world of sword flyers. He's saying he knows she's careful and thinks through her plans, and that's why he's going to leave the protection of White City to her. She says she won't fail, and he tells her to get ready for tomorrow. But when he's about to leave and she's still standing there, he asks what's wrong. Then she asks if, after he ascends, he's going to come back. All of a sudden he starts laughing, and says that when he reaches the top, nothing in this world will be able to stop him from returning. He pats her on the head, she gets super happy, and she's saying the master really is the strongest. Back on Earth, the protagonist is thinking maybe Yunbin hurt her, and she also wasn't there on the day of the betrayal. Could she be one of the few people who didn't abandon him? Right away, he asks the Spear King if he knows where she went. He says she mentioned the Firestones weren't good for her, and that's why she went to Fangzhou City looking for another spirit cave. The protagonist asks the staff group if they know about any spirit caves in the city, and Iron Fist says that if it isn't marked, unfortunately they have no idea. All of a sudden, Scanty Clothes clings to him and says he should ask her. He tells her to just say it already. Then she reveals that when she passed near that city, she found a mountain packed with spiritual energy. The cave has to be around there. If he doesn't mind, she'll lead the way. And honestly, before, she was totally covered up. She had shorts and a full shirt. Then she switched to a top and mini shorts. Now it's like it keeps shrinking. Pretty soon, Scanty Clothes is gonna hit 0. Cap Kid asks the protagonist if he's leaving, and our guy says yes, the time has come. But the kid asks, and this monkey here, this corpse, what are we gonna do if it comes back to life? That's when the protagonist notices that creature had an imperishable corpse, like it never disappeared. He didn't think it was possible for someone to reach that level physically in this world. The thing in his sword says the kid looks terrified and tells him to get ready, because no matter what happens, one day it'll break the seal and return to a physical body. And on that day, Subai will be defeated. The protagonist says fine, then he'll put that corpse inside his consciousness. That'll stop that damn monkey from being reborn and keep Yunbin from using it again. He basically tosses it into the staff while the spirit begs him not to, but it's too late. Then the Spearmaster tells the protagonist he's going back to the city, since it's been a long time since he visited his family. Our guy turns around, looks back, waves goodbye, and says their paths split there. But knowing this story, that guy will be back soon, because everyone always shows up again. Back with Shower and Yunbin, he's suffering, saying it'll take a long time to recover after his technique was destroyed. She can't believe it, saying they were idiots. They spent all that time hunting the stone and now it ended up in Subai's hands. Suddenly they hear people talking nearby. When they look, it's Wang Q's group, with Yu telling her to walk slower. Who is this master she keeps talking about all the time? Shower is already sure Wang Q got her memories back. Then the two of them step out from behind the rocks and greet the junior. Yu is thinking she's never seen those two, but they still feel familiar. Wang Q wants to ask if she's trying to find the master, but she says yes, while she's basically about to slash him. Then he says, honestly, we just fought the master, and with the strength you've got 0 chance of beating him. It's better if you come with us. Everyone gets stronger together, and one day we can finally take him down. But she says she remembers perfectly well that the last time she saw Yunbin, he was attacking her, trying to kill her with a mental attack. Why would she follow him now? Meanwhile, with all this talk, it's Yuchu's head that starts hurting. Then she says, I don't get it. While you've been out there killing disciples and attacking cities, the master was saving people. Who's actually the evil one in this world? Shu asks, can't you see what the master did? After everything we went through, how do you have the nerve to stand on his side? But Wang Q says she's standing on the side of the truth, and she's finding it more and more weird. This whole story about the master being the one who threw the world into misery. Her goal is to find him and uncover the truth behind everything. Yunbin realizes she changed her mind. If he keeps arguing with her, it'll only make things harder. On the other hand, Yuchu still doesn't seem influenced. If he helped her recover her memories, maybe everything would change. So he reaches his hand toward her and says he'll help her understand everything that happened. But in the next instant, a scream echoes through the mountains. Yunbin asks what she's doing. Wangqiu summoned the phoenix, saying if he touches a single hair on Yuchu's head, she won't show mercy. Mini Skirt tells Mini Shorts that Yuchu has the right to reach her own conclusions. Yuchu says that's sophistry, basically lying in a classy way, playing mind games. And it's more than clear, Yuchu is scared. Wangqiu goes up to her and tells her not to be afraid. Nobody there can hurt her. Whether she trusts Yuchu or not is her choice. The poor girl is yelling, saying she has no idea what they're even talking about, this master stuff, senior stuff. She doesn't understand any of it. Then she panics and throws herself into Wangqiu. Yuchu wants to act, but he knows if he goes against Wangqiu, Yuchu will turn against him too, and then he loses the big plan. So he says fine. If that's how it is, he'll respect both of their decisions. All he asks is that she doesn't forget the reason the master deserved betrayal, and that she understands that with that guy's temperament she wouldn't be forgiven. Then they say the door is always open for both of them. He walks away with that evil smile, saying good, perfect, because he left behind an energy that will help you to discover the truth about everything. The truth to him being that the master needs to die. Scene switches to a forest, where the protagonist says he can feel the spiritual energy. The cave is nearby, and he calls everyone to start searching. Nearby there's a weird crater that leads underground, but it also looks like a cave, so it's confusing. Big Skeleton is scared, and Big Mosquito tells him to stop being afraid of the dark. They start messing with each other, until the mosquito says he'll find out the truth right now, and goes in. But when he reaches the end, he gets stared down by rats and bolts out of there, completely shook. Then the skeleton goes in to smack them, but his weapon breaks. That weapon is useless anyway, it never works. He gets thrown to the ground and is about to be eaten by the rats, until the rest of the protagonist team shows up and starts beating them up. Or actually, maybe not, because they throw hands, but it looks like they're the ones getting worked, since the rat guys are still standing. The protagonist shows up asking what those creatures are, and someone says they're zombie rats, but it looks like they're close to the energy cave and ended up absorbing it. The guys are all apologizing because they can't even handle these things. The protagonist draws his sword and says it's fine. It's just that the magic they have isn't a good matchup against this kind of monster. He says he'll show them how it's done. The rats rush him, and he slices the first one clean in half. But right then, some people appear up above watching them, asking who these bandits are. Someone in the group says by their clothes they're from the King Shen sect. Scanty Clothes explains that they apparently became extremely prominent at the start of the apocalypse, gathering a bunch of talented people. They have tons of techniques and tons of resources. You could say they run this region. The guy smiles and says, well, they've been recognized, so she clearly knows how strong their sect is. Before she can answer, he says unfortunately that's exactly why she has to become prey, and he goes in to stab her. The protagonist swings the staff to block. No way he's letting them kill Scanty Clothes. Then he says they're about to find out who the real prey is, and he's already controlling 3 big spiritual rats. The guy is confused, trying to figure out why the beasts suddenly look like they're under the protagonist's control. The protagonist says it's shameful that they rule this region, and it's still desolate. Anyone who kills their own people during the apocalypse deserves an even worse death, and he sends the rats at them. One guy manages to retreat while the others watch. Clearly the staff kid is at least S rank, but their sect specializes in coordinated attacks. As long as they fight together, victory is guaranteed, and 5 more of them rush in. One activates a spiritual fist and blows up the ground. Another activates vines. Seriously, stop attacking my Scanty Clothes. Actually, with those angles, maybe keep going. Hold on, she already broke free. They're relentless. Another comes from behind, but the skeleton comes in from the side and smacks him. Doesn't do much, but it at least knocks him offline. At the same time, she attacks and breaks out of the vines. Or not. How does your weapon break hitting a bunch of plants? The skeleton gets shoved away too, while one guy goes in to punch the protagonist, and another closes in from behind. Subai is more focused on how Yukami's attacks suddenly got destroyed by a vine. There's something weird about that guy's techniques. But right in front of him another fist is coming, and the protagonist steps back and slashes, summoning a blue flame. The guy tries to smash him, but the flame splits off in front of him, and hits the one behind. It sets the kid on fire, burning and screaming, while the leader yells at him to stop attacking the juniors. Coming from him, that's rich. Meanwhile, Iron Arm is fighting the curvy woman. He's not doing much, but at least he's not getting in everyone's way. He tells her to stop dodging, but again she slips away. Then at the same time the bird activates sonar. The woman freezes for a few seconds, but the fight is insane because from behind someone is already coming in to stab him, and then he gets pierced in the chest by the mosquito. That was wild. Right after that, the curvy woman tells the boss that 2 of their brothers already went down. The rest of the protagonist team gathers behind him, and he praises everyone for still being intact. But one of the enemies is smiling, saying the ability is off cooldown. Soon they'll learn the power of a real mutant. In the next second, a guy appears behind them and hits the bird. Hits the mosquito and is already moving towards Steel Arm. He uses momentum to launch at the protagonist, who dodges. But the guy twists his hand and grabs something. I don't even know what, because the chapter ended. I don't know exactly what happened, but he regrouped with his people and said he got it. Then the guy announces that all abilities have been sealed, and Sabai realizes his spiritual energy is total chaos. He can't control anything. Steel Fist says they need to retreat, Without their powers, how are they supposed to fight? But the protagonist says if they're facing an enemy this strong, running is the worst option. They won't be able to get out of there easily. The guy in front says he read the situation perfectly, and because of that, he'll guarantee them a peaceful death. The blue monkey spirit says if the protagonist wants to win, he'll need his help. If he breaks the seal holding him, he'll wipe out the guys in front, and then once it's decided, he'll go his own way, and the protagonist will lose him. Subai says it's a tempting offer, but he refuses. The Thing is shocked. How is he going to solve this whole problem? Subai says he's more interested in refining everyone in front of him and creating his own group. That'll make his team even stronger. They're furious, saying that bastard doesn't understand the situation he's in. Another guy jumps in with a flaming punch, saying this is the end for him, and it lands clean in the protagonist's stomach. He smiles, saying it's over for the kid, but then his body dissolves. In the next second, he's behind the leader, swings the sword, and the guy's head rolls. The curvy woman wants to know how that's possible. They sealed his spiritual power. How is he still using energy like that? He says it's a shame, because the only thing they sealed was his clone. The bird is confused. The clone is his skill. Yeah, the protagonist played it smart. The moment they tried to take his power, he stole the bird's power with the new ability he got to borrow once, pulled out the clone, and he's still at full strength. Volumosa is already caught, screaming for help to her senior brother, and the guy's over there activating his powers, saying the bastard must be tired of living. He throws a one punch, but the other one's a lava giant. The protagonist pulls his sword and says he knows exactly what shuts down that kind of technique. He slips right through and lands a wind slash, ends up face to face, and the guy manages to block, but the protagonist tells him to try stopping this, fires off another attack, can't even tell if he actually tore him up. Then the guy activates a clone too, but he still gets split. Once again, the spirit inside the protagonist's sword is thinking this kid really reminds him of his old master. But he can't jump to conclusions yet, he still needs solid proof. The protagonist asks what he's thinking so hard about, and he says it's nothing. Meanwhile, the rest of the group comes in praising him, asking if he's hurt, what happened. Then the enemy's body on the ground starts having its soul pulled out, yelling for the bastard to stop, but the protagonist ignores it and tells the staff to refine everything. The souls, along with the rat's souls, all get refined into the skeleton, and he keeps leveling that skeleton up and up and up, more strength, and that bastard still never does anything. Everyone levels up a bit, gets some skills, and then what? He goes to do the rock and roll on his friend. This time it's a check right on the belly button. He tells her to wake up, says she slept long enough. At first she freaks out. They tell him not to touch her, but then she changes her mind and says if he's going to touch her, at least warn her first. While the protagonist tells everyone to keep collecting the corpses and all that because he's going to have a little talk with the group. Meanwhile, the former Volumosa, yeah, obviously he didn't kill the only woman in the group, right? Wonder why. He walks up as she screams, begging forgiveness, saying she was wrong, she didn't want to be part of that group. He says whether she lives or dies depends on her performance. She better answer everything she knows about the spirit cave. She says the best thing she can tell him is to lose interest in it. That place eats people alive. He tells her to explain. She says multiple groups from her clan already invaded that place trying to deal with things, but nobody comes out alive. The protagonist is sure their team is strong, so if those people really died in there, something's off. He tells her to explain how it happened. She says a group of 5 went into the cave while they stayed outside on guard. The team never came back, but the giant rat came out. They killed the rat and got an idea. What if they sent other creatures in? Creatures that come out alive but absorb energy. Then they just kill those creatures, and that was their plan. So the protagonist asks, so you're telling me you were sending rats into the cave to pull out energy? But that's weird. If the group went in and creatures are coming out, something doesn't add up. She says she thinks it's weird too, but it's true. He says he can't trust her. He'll have to look at her memories. Since she confessed, he can hit the same part of her brain tied to that moment and invade that specific spot. And right away he finds Qing Xuan, the former disciple, walking in there. He asks about her and why she was on that mission. The captured girl says she joined the group only a short time ago, and it looks like it was her master's idea for her to go in with everyone. Not much clothing is not a good thing. While the protagonist, hand on his chin, says, well, if that's how it is, they don't have a choice. They'll have to invade the place. He tells everyone to get ready and starts heading in. Inside, he summons a fireball, and not much clothing. Says it's strange there isn't a single spirit stone anywhere. He says it really is confusing since they were feeling spiritual energy from far away. Somewhere in there, there's a massive concentration, and then the real danger shows up. 3 paths to follow. Is he really going to split up? Maybe not. He's smarter than that. He summons the rats and says he'll see which way they go. Since they've got energy, they should know where the right place is. But the Steel Fist skeleton says they didn't sense any energy at all. If there really is something there, it's some higher being that can hide its power or something like that. The rats change expression, and then what looks like a zombie with purple skin comes in and attacks. Everyone backs off, and the captured girl recognizes him as Brother Yinfan. The protagonist is impressed that even dead, that creature had an absurd energy level. The group gets hyped and rushes in, but if I know them, they're not going to do anything at all. And I'm telling you, not much clothing is shrinking even more. Look at that little string getting smaller and smaller. I think it's an Easter egg, and I noticed it way too early. The zombie comes at the protagonist, who whips him straight in the chest. Boom. The whole ground explodes. The captured girl stays terrified because more and more of her brothers show up zombified. The protagonist team rushes in again. Someone pulls out claws, both hits land clean. But the thing spreads its arms and shoves everyone back. The big mosquito thinks it found the perfect opening, comes from behind and gets hit with a rain of spikes. That damn Kimimaro had the power to do whatever he wanted with his bones, and now the skeleton is controlling the big rats. He gives the order. They charge in, tank everything on the spiritual barrier without taking damage. Subai sees that and is impressed. His group was getting better and better at coordinated fighting. But then the monster slams the ground, generating energy around it. Looks like another sound wave manipulation. The captured girl warns that was a technique he had that damaged internal organs. Then the bird throws out another interference to block it. Sound against sound, cancels out. The protagonist rushes in praising it, gets behind the monster, goes for the sword strike, and nothing. It just ricochets. The thing has a sound wave shield around its skull. The team is stunned. The creature has defense covering all its blind spots, but the protagonist says it's just delaying the inevitable. He's gonna pull all the air around him, and then the sound wave won't do anything. The creature slaps the wall, forms another rock that blocks another attack. At the same time, an earthquake starts in the cave, and it begins to split open. Oh my god, thanks artist. Yeah, he threw her into the hole. The protagonist, that technique thief, already stole the vine power from that guy and managed to make something so everyone falls without getting wrecked. But the zombies are already face to face, and Subai wants to know, if these things have so many techniques, why do they keep stalling before using them? Someone is clearly controlling them and trying to figure out his group's abilities. They're probably defending so easily because just like him, they can share a collective field of vision. So he tells the bird to hide and look for an opening while he and Not Much Clothing go in. The creature hits the wall again, this time making a bunch of spikes toward them, but the protagonist raises the plants. He tells the girl the priority is the eyes, charges energy into the sword, and sets everything on fire. The monster keeps chaining attacks, but the protagonist keeps slipping through, dodging, while the bird stays above just waiting for a chance. In the end, the bird attacks first and lands a hit that finally makes the thing react. Not Much Clothing also lands a clean shot to the eye, but celebrates too early and takes a hit to the shoulder. Yeah, next chapter starts with a nice image. It's always fun reading something where the artist is basically your friend. Like, thanks artist, you're a beast. The monster is screaming and everyone's trying to understand why losing one eye made it go crazy. But they take the chance and fire a blade feather attack, slicing the monster up. Not Much Clothing got infected and is suffering from the poison. But relax, the little bird comes in and takes a big bite, saying it'll suck it all out. That little menace. The protagonist, meanwhile, keeps pushing forward, saying he can't let this thing recover. He activates the vines again, traps the monster, appears behind it, swings, yet the bastard dodges again. It still manages to fire another attack at the protagonist, who says he expected that, and right then the staff drops from above and nails the skull dead on. With that, the bastard dies and he runs over to see what's going on with Not Much Clothing. The bird explains the monster had poison straight from its eye that cursed her, and even it can't remove it. Obviously only Subai could remove that poison. He lifts the girl up, starts channeling energy, the rock and roll pressing up behind her. She screams, "What is this?" Hand on her stomach. My god, what's happening? Whew, it's over. I almost thought I was gonna have to cut something here, it just wouldn't stop evolving. Right after that, the bird brings the captured girl over. The protagonist says they need to go help Steel Arm, who at that exact moment is getting blown up and thrown back. At least they held Kimimaro off for a good while. The protagonist is more interested in the fact that someone was controlling the zombies and making them that strong. He tells everyone not to get discouraged. They're getting stronger, it's just that this creature is insanely strong. He says that and still buffs the group. Calls everyone back into the fight. Everybody goes, nobody rests here. The creature sends another rain of bones, but the protagonist uses a spinning defense with the staff. He's shocked that not even the banner's barrier is really working. And then Kimimaro starts twisting his arm, forms a cannon, and the protagonist tells them not to stop now. If they let that shot go off too late, they rush in, but the projectile is already coming, and everything explodes. Out of that, Subai comes down with his sword and lands a heavy strike, but the thing blocks again, puts the cannon in its mouth, and is about to fire. Then it hesitates and everyone's confused why it isn't shooting. That's when they tell them to look at its foot. The big mosquito came in clutch and locked it down with that skill seal ability. The monster roars, shoves the protagonist and the mosquito away, and dives into the hole. But Subai says escaping won't be that easy. He activates stone manipulation, pierces the thing from all sides mid-fall, and its soul starts leaving the body and gets pulled into the staff. The captured girl is in shock. How did 3 powered-up seniors fail to beat this kid? Subai is thinking he wants to know who is controlling all this. At the same time, it's dangerous trying to turn these creatures into servants, so he decides it's better to refine them. The banner goes up to level 9. Now the strengthening can be used not only on servants, but also on allies. Yeah, all that just so he can pump power into Not Much Clothing and make her suffer. Now he also has the ability to communicate with servants through the system, and nobody can intercept that. On top of that, thanks to the mosquito's help in the fight, the creature evolves to boss level. Everyone's leveling up, getting stronger, but we already know they won't be useful. Then suddenly a pure shadow guy appears behind them, saying that energy conversion was impressive. Everyone turns weirded out, saying they didn't feel him approach. He laughs and tells everyone to relax. He's just out for a walk. He was just curious who destroyed the zombies he worked so hard to create. Subai asks if he developed that virus. The shadow says, yeah, you could call it the result of one of his research projects, and why don't they go down underground so they can talk? The protagonist is immediately sure this is the person absorbing the cave's spiritual energy. And Not Much Clothing charges in, basically asking to get beaten so she can be healed, saying the guy's distracted, and they have to take advantage of him being alone. but the creature dodges easily. Since she shouted the protagonist's name, the creature now knows he's Subai, which is weird. Yunbin should have killed him already. Now the protagonist wants to know how this bastard knows about Yunbin, and he attacks too, asking what the relationship is. The monster keeps dodging everyone, saying it's none of his business. All he knows is he has to finish that guy's job. The protagonist group doesn't know what to do. No attack is even touching him, and the protagonist tells everyone not to waste energy. This isn't even his real body. It's just black mist, good for nothing except communicating. The creature says he'd like to talk more, but he has to wrap things up there. He puts his hand on the wall, activates a stone control skill, and the whole cave starts shaking. At the same time, the monster disappears, saying he'll be waiting for them down below so they can play. The protagonist knows having the same ability is really rare. Since the monster is using the same technique he uses, maybe he has some kind of power that copies other people's abilities. The bird and the skeleton are like always completely freaking out over there. They're already like, let's get out of here. This isn't going to work for us. They want the protagonist to open up an escape route, but he says if he tries to move that much stone, he'll run out of energy, and that's even more dangerous. Besides, they're there for the spirit stone to get stronger. They're not backing down now. Little Clothes agrees, saying they're not quitting just because of some monster, and everyone's fired up. And yeah, when everybody's smiling, you just know a few people are about to die. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Wang Q is with Yu. They find the bodies? Yep, the protagonist group killed everyone here. Yu asks if Wang Q is sure, because it doesn't look like there are any stones in this cave, and there are a bunch of freshly dead bodies. But Wang Q says she's sure, she can feel a massive amount. Then the fat guy recognizes the dead people as members of the Qinshan sect. Since those guys control this area, it's weird they got wiped out. Mini Shorts recognizes the techniques used on the bodies as her master's techniques, meaning he's the one who came in here. Everyone trusts her and goes, if you say so, then it's true. The good part is there must be some stones, so we'll be able to take everything. The fat guy moves up front saying he'll clear the way. Meanwhile, Yuis is nervous about meeting the master, wondering what kind of person he is and whether she should really trust him as much as Wang Q does. They keep going, and the fat guy asks which way they should take. There are a bunch of passages and the place is more complicated than they expected. Wang Q's scared of missing the chance to find her master, when suddenly Yuis says she feels like they should go this way. Right then, Mini Short remembers that before she awakened her memories, her innate power also started working in this world. So Yuis' powers were probably starting to wake up too. And considering she was the queen of deadly toxins, there's probably some kind of poison down there, and that's what she's picking up. The fat guy says he agrees. It's way too early to give up. If both of them sense something, then there has to be something worth it. And with that, the team goes back to searching. With the protagonist group, they walked for 12 freaking hours, and then hit a dead end. They think there's no way forward, but he says that actually they finally arrived. He touches the wall, and everything opens up, revealing a place with flames and a bunch of goblins dancing in the middle. There are humans hanging upside down, getting killed and tortured. What the hell is this? One of the goblins is yelling for them to enjoy the blessing of the cult master. Everyone's confused, trying to figure out what kind of nightmare they just walked into, while the protagonist only wants to know where Qing Xuan is. He came here for her. The captured girl who's been tied up this whole time recognizes her master. It's one of the guys bleeding out, and the protagonist immediately orders all the creatures to attack, save the people, and wipe out the goblins. Some people get rescued. The monsters start dropping, and the protagonist drags one of the guys out. The goblins, on the other hand, shout for those bastards who are messing with the ritual to show themselves. Then the bird lets out a scream. Everyone freezes, and the creatures rush in. Honestly, it's only because of that scream. Otherwise, they've never been useful for anything. Steel Arm is confused. The creatures keep dying, but they don't hesitate to attack. Then all of a sudden, a guy in a suit appears from the back laughing. The creatures say the cult master has arrived, and the white-haired guy shouts Subai's name. Everyone recognizes it. It's the same voice as that shadow from before. The skeleton charges in with everyone at the same time, saying this time he won't use any cheap tricks. But with a simple hand motion, the guy creates a perfect illusion. The big bird tries to clutch it. For once, that bird actually does something. He flies overhead trying to use sonar interference, but the guy extends a hand with an eye on it, disrupts the casting, and slams the bird into the wall. The goblins start cheering and worshipping him, while he says he really hasn't lost his touch in a fight. The protagonist realizes right away he just stopped the bird's attack, using the bird's own sonar ability. So it's confirmed, this guy uses other people's powers. Seeing the protagonist point his sword at him, he says Subai is finally getting involved. Then he rushes forward, telling them to fight with everything they've got. That hand with the eye is right in the protagonist's face, and he almost has a panic moment. He tells him to get that thing away from him, throws blue slashes at him. The guy backs off. Then the protagonist sends a tornado, and the guy dodges to the side. He's impressed. He tried to use a sonar attack, but the protagonist used the wind technique to cancel the activation. And in the same instant, he teleports to the side and lands a clean sword strike, only for the guy to raise a stone barrier. At the same time, poison leaks out from the spot where the barrier got hit, and the others freak out, saying Subai is in danger. Even while down, they launch an attack to help him, forcing the guy to defend, and in that distraction, the mosquito hits the guy's arm. The guy pulls the mosquito off, but then the whole trio manages to get back up, charges again, and now the protagonist is coming in from behind. Suddenly, a purple barrage comes down from above, and he says it's useless. Everyone gets locked in place. The captive girl can't understand how he's using so many abilities back to back. The protagonist, though, notices something. The guy used that ability even while the mosquito was restricting him. That means he has more than one spiritual vein in his body. The guy turns around and praises him. No wonder the kid's so strong, you figured out a secret like that in one move. And yeah, he has 4 spiritual veins because his body is a combination of countless entities. The goblins ask, "Master, do you really think it's smart to tell him that? You should talk less." He shoots them a look and tells those idiots to finish the preparation because that's what matters. That's when we see that behind everyone there's a cradle on fire, and the protagonist seems to recognize the formation of that altar. The spirit behind the protagonist knows that's a seal-breaking technique. If he can reach it, maybe he can finally free himself from Subai. Then the enemy says, now that the kid knows the secret, it's time for him to die. Knowing exactly why, purple fog pours out of one of the walls, and from inside it, the spirits of multiple goblins start coming out. The creature inside the protagonist says he's screwed. It'll be hard to deal with so many monsters appearing at once. And the enemy is yelling that all those souls are spirits that failed their transformation, but they're perfect for draining Subai's energy. The protagonist prepares the banner and says incomplete creatures like that are useless against him. The chains. Yeah, the ones from Chapter 1, remember? All shoot out and lock the monsters inside the room, pinning them in place, forcing them to kill each other. And just like that, the arena is empty. The cult master asks where the hell his army went. Then he says fine, he wanted Subai's body intact, but that won't be possible. More purple walls appear, and creatures come in trying to bite the protagonist. He slices the first one's mouth open, dodges the others, realizing this is a kind of poison he can't let touch him. Since he recently advanced realms, he decides to reach into the sea of consciousness again and see if he can find something. From inside, he pulls out something that looks like a bracelet, but the monkey recognizes it as an immortal fusion jade. The monster wants to know how Subai got that. He explains he got it normally by passing the artifact sex test. The monkey is stunned. How is this guy carrying a Dharma treasure at that level? And then we see a flashback. The monkey in the past bringing some fruit to the protagonist, saying it was fresh. But Subai tells him not to come close. He was using the immortal jade, and anyone who touched him at that moment would end up dying. That's when the monkey learned how rare that treasure was, and how you even get it. And now the fact that the same item is in Subai's hands leaves only one possibility. This guy is the person who liked this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers, activate the cheeky little bell, and trap out.